Okay, good evening, everybody. We're going to start our meeting of August 20th this evening. I look around me and I see we have a full quorum this evening, which is always a good thing. I'd like to see if we have a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to approve last month's minutes.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Ken, Neil. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any general members' comments? Anybody anything to say? Okay, we'll go right to the first item on our agenda, 1938 Upper Lake Drive. Come on up, have a seat. And I see both of your microphones are on, so if you want to move it so it's more in front of you so we can actually hear you. This is all being recorded for posterity.
Thank you.
Whatever it is, it's being recorded. Okay. You can go home and watch it afterwards. See
We will.
We will. YouTube or go to Reston.org. It'll all be there. Living color.
Very good.
Floor is yours.
Okay, John, I'm John and Judy Newcomb. We live at 1938 Upper Lake Drive, and there's a whole bunch of things we want to do to improve our house. So first of all, Megan had asked, somebody on the panel, I believe, had asked if there was any color renderings. So I don't have any, but I've taken a couple pictures of a house that has the exact same kind of hardy plank pearl gray color we're looking at, and the gray trim on the windows that somebody had asked about.
Okay.
So I think you've got just about every kind of sample and drawing
And
So
request
that will
and
suffice.
blood.
I gather what you're saying there is the whole house is going to be resided using those colors and hardy plank.
Right, so let me run through the whole thing. So, house was built in '78, much of it is original. Much of the wood has been replaced here and there. When we moved in 6 years ago, we had a wooden deck in the back. It wasn't caught by the home inspection, but the appraiser mentioned to us that it was full of carpenter ants. So that
And
was.
termites.
Yeah, well, the houses had termites and those were taken care of before, but the carpenter ants had eaten through the deck, the post more than halfway. So we replaced that deck with stone. When we started this process, we were asked to include the deck in this because we never asked for permission in the first place. So, but that's sort of the story there. We needed to change it with something, so we decided to go with stone. Likewise, because the house is wood siding, several neighbors have moved to the hardy plank, which is helpful in Reston because apparently carpenter ants, termites, I don't know about carpenter bees, but they don't like that. So we're changing all the windows, all the siding, the deck's already been changed. And the two major things are, we're asking for an addition for a sunroom and a master bedroom. We're not expanding the footprint of the house at all, but those are two of the plans that we have there. Along with that, while we're doing that, we're going to renovate the front porch and just put a metal roof on it. There will be a metal roof on the sunroom. The chimney, which is just this ugly pipe sticking up right now, we're gonna put stone around that, make it more like what our neighbors have, and
The crawl space.
oh, and that's right. And so the other thing that when we moved in, there's a crawl space that actually goes all the way down and has footings, but was never excavated for whatever reason, and remained like that. And I don't know if it was ever approved to be excavated, but the realtor sold it as future basement space or whatever you want to call it. One of the walls, the wall on the street side, is starting to collapse in, and that needs to be repaired. So,
One of the basement walls?
one of the basement walls,
really?
in the crawl space, not in the living area.
Okay.
But it is supporting the structure above it, a bedroom above it.
Well, we went through Jess and the
Yeah,
engineers.
we went through a whole bunch of folks to tell us, and we have all these crazy ideas about, Kevlar this and things out in the front yard and all that. And I said, why don't we just rebuild the wall? Seems like the easiest thing to do and the best thing to do. So while we're doing that, we're gonna excavate the space, add a door so we can get in from the back on the lakeside and use that for storage and future, you know, future space. So I think, other than the interior things, that should be most of the exterior things that we talked about.
Okay, a couple quick questions and then we'll pass it around up here. You said the footprint isn't changing, didn't the sunroom change the footprint?
The sunroom changes the footprint. We have a current, that part of the deck that's up, that's raised is wood. So we're changing the right part to cover it,
Okay,
and then it'll be enclosed, and so
so it's the same footprint
it's
as
the
the deck?
same footprint as far as posts going into the ground.
Is it same size or is it bigger? It looked like it was bigger.
It might be, I think it's.
No, it's the same size.
It encompasses where the stairs used to be, right?
Yeah, so the
Yes.
stairs, correct.
So it is bigger.
So it's bigger, yeah.
Yes.
Not-
That's
Well,
a simple,
yeah,
it doesn't, that's
I
not,
think it-
that's
Well,
not a
I
trick
don't
question.
know.
It's bigger.
Does
You
it-
don't lose points for that, it's all
Right,
right.
No,
no,
I'm
it's
just-
bigger,
I'm
and the
just trying to
stairs are
figure
going
out.
over to the other side.
Yeah,
Right,
that,
right.
Oh, that's
by
right,
definition
the
is
stairs
bigger.
are what's moved.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We hired a contractor to start this over 2 years ago. We've been going back and forth with him, so if we get
We're glad to
confused,
see.
we're not, I think we know what we're asking for, but
Okay.
it's changed
So
several times.
basically, the sunroom, larger, whatever,
Yes,
one thing, adding the second floor over the garage side is the second thing?
no, it's the opposite of the
The other
garage
side,
side.
the other side of the house,
The
I'm
other
sorry.
side. The sunroom is on the back of the garage
Got
side.
it, so you're adding, that's right.
Right.
I'm looking at this drawing upside down, so it's throwing me off a little bit. But that's from the rear, so the sunroom's on the left. The whole second floor on the right
So if
is what you're adding.
If you're in Lake Thoreau looking up, this is the deck that currently exists, and it goes over to here.
Okay,
But this is the area where the sunroom will be. And then this is the area that will be added. There's an existing room here, and then the master bedroom will go above it,
right,
expanding both sides.
okay.
And then, so this is the crawl space that we'll dig out and add a door there. The
Okay.
drawings show a window, that may or may not happen.
Okay, so in addition to this, you're also replacing all the windows in the house?
Yes, every window.
And the roof is gonna be what?
The roof is
Is it a
gonna.
metal roof on the sunroom, but what's the rest of it?
It'll be regular shingle, just like it is now. Not the fancy stuff. just the
Architect,
regular.
just not, a three tab, not an architectural.
Correct.
Front porch is calling for a metal roof too.
The front porch.
Yeah, the
No,
front
the
porch, which is
sunroom
just a
is-
little portico, and then a metal roof on this. And then that's the chimney area that you can also see.
Okay.
So,
And we can go to the
Yeah.
front elevation for a minute?
if you go to the front too, we're adding some stone out there to it.
Yeah,
not
you're-
exactly an
You're
orange,
facing
something
the
like
whole
that.
area around the front door with stone.
Correct.
Did the window color ever get clarified?
Yes.
What-
There's a sample there, gray. I gave Megan a
Whatever that
sample.
photograph that show what
That's
colors.
for capping
but-
though, the windows usually come in either white or you
No, I'm
have
talking about the
a
actual
custom color.
window frame.
The
Like
frame
your
will be
existing windows
gray.
will be gray.
They're custom.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clarify all the pieces that are happening. So you got the stone on the front, the two-story addition, the sunroom in the back, re-siding the whole house, redoing or replacing all the windows, pretty much looks like for like, except on the front, you're adding a three-part window, you're pushing them all together, which is not that big a deal, right above the front door.
Right.
It looks like you're keeping the side lights to the front, and the chimney, you're just adding stone to the top of the chimney that's there.
Yeah, there's just a flue, there's just a steel pipe, so we're just putting stone around it. I'm sure they'll enclose it with wood so they can catch the stone some.
Yeah, I guess if that's just gonna be a thin set stone.
Right.
I'm just curious what holds it up there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure they got
Okay.
it, because right now it's just flue, and this shows it, it's,
Yeah.
I'm sure it has a wood
Okay,
structure.
we may have some questions about that in terms of.
Isn't it, don't we have a picture of our next door neighbor that did the same thing?
Yeah, but they're asking.
Okay, in terms of continuing the chimney and just adding the stone cap, I'm sure we might get a question or two about that in terms of how it looks, but let's see. Okay, so I think we're clear on the scope of work. Okay.
I think, just this one more thing, this basement that you're creating,
Yes,
that's in the scope too, and it does have,
Yes.
it does show up in the rear elevation, right?
yes,
So,
because we're putting in doors.
That's this right here.
yeah. And is that just exposed concrete block, or what are we looking
Yes.
at there?
Just exposed concrete block. We may try to do something that would make it look nice, but all it is just concrete block right now.
I'm having a little trouble knowing what that is. Is there any kind of plan that shows where that is?
I can show you and send several pictures. So.
I took all the pictures out and lumped
They're
them
doing that,
together.
they're like
They're being
circulating.
passed around. Who has the photos?
I think they got back to them.
Oh,
There we go.
Not those.
not these?
It sits proud of the house.
This is all. I had a
Here
bundle
it
of
is.
these.
It's
Nothing's left in here.
These are all neighbors.
there's the existing basement.
And
You have the ones of our house,
Yeah, that
though.
shows the basement
Yeah, it shows it. Wait, you have a plan in what you submitted.
Yeah, there's a
It took me
plan.
a while to find it.
in the file. Okay. All right, I think we understand the scope we're talking about. On the second story addition, the only other question was gutters and all that stuff will match what's on the existing, so that's not gonna change.
Yeah, we had to go back to the design drawings, Dad, because you wanted gutters and downspout locations. So now you've got a top-down view as
Right.
well.
We just need to clarify all the things you're proposing, so we all understand, that's all.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's back off just a second and see.
Any affected areas?
I don't know, are there any affected parties on this? I don't think there are.
there are not.
No.
All right, let's see, we'll start with questions. Mike, why don't we start with you? Any questions?
Don't have any questions, I guess. The big thing I was trying to figure out was the color, which I think now it's been clarified.
Right.
So, and the gray, it looks like, I was a little confused with the window color, but it does look like Pella does offer the morning gray. It's
Right.
special aluminum clad color on the vinyl window. So I get now what you're doing, to basically going to the gray, which I like. And then, so but there is gonna be a red roof on the front porch, correct?
Red in,
It's
there's
not
a
red.
sample of that.
It's like a maroon, it's like a dark
It's
red,
like,
it's like a
uh,
cranberry,
Yeah, whatever you want to call
yeah.
Work
Col-
on that.
Colonial red, but it's
it. Colonial red,
a very dark red.
And that's kind of an homage to your existing house color, because it's very similar to it, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't see that. Norma.
I guess the one
Our
question
current color is pretty
I
much
see on the
Reston
plan
brown.
to why you guys did this, but I'm a little confused at the circular glass panel option of why,
Oh.
what exactly is that?
So I've got a stained glass that is a big, huge thing that I got in Maine and I've had for many, many years. I've got no place to put it. So it'll fit if I change that window to
Oh,
a bigger
okay,
window.
So it's not gonna be, it'll just be hung on the inside of
It's
the
just
window.
hung on the inside.
So you're just making the window bigger to the.
Right, and I don't know why they showed it circular here because
Well, because you wanted it.
I wanted to be sure it would- I wanted to be sure it would fit.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you,
So that's what that is.
okay.
There is a circular window that is in the bathroom of the master
It's
bedroom
right there.
addition. It's a small one. Oh, you see
Yeah,
it
it's
here.
right there.
It's really
Hexagon.
Yeah,
Pentagon shape.
yeah, I'll be honest with you, it's not an ideal location,
Yeah, that,
because it's a little off-centered,
I
which
know.
It's a lot
which drives
off-center.
me a lot crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just,
It drove these folks crazy too.
yeah. I see that it's in the
It has to
bathroom.
do with
so-
the interior
Yeah.
design more than anything else.
Yeah.
Closet there, bathrooms there.
Yeah. Those are the only questions I have.
Yeah. And I did not want the bathroom not to have a window.
And a door and everything else.
Right. Okay, let's jump back to the other side. Charlie?
no, my biggest concern was the offset window. I find that very distracting.
The round window?
Or hexagon or octagon or whatever.
The one in the bathroom one, the
The
small
one in the
one?
bathroom, yeah. It's always a problem that works on the inside but doesn't work from the exterior.
Mhm.
And that's always a problem child. And well, that was basically about it. Yeah, I'm not sure the stone exactly fits the rest of the house, but I guess that's,
It
Kind of a
currently,
personal-
there should be a
personal thing,
picture there,
though.
it's already stoned partly.
well, I see that the planters or whatever were next to the front
Well,
door.
there's a stone walkway, and this is stone. These
Right,
are already
correct.
stoned, and there's 2 pillars that are already stoned out here. And so it's more to fill in this,
Yeah.
match it all.
I'm old and it reminds me of mural stone. And it's much better quality now than back in the day, but that's the impression I get when I look at it. That
No,
it's,
We've been round and round with these folks, and I took some pictures of a neighbor who did it really nicely, but it's more like.
Yeah.
That's what is sort of there now on the pillars. I mean, we want to go with that, not something. That's exact.
Yeah, just for clarification, we're doing questions and comments, just. Ken? Did you have one more?
No, it's okay, I'll hold it.
We'll get back to you.
No, just a couple of comments on the rear elevation, the use of the angle braces.
Yes.
Uh,
That's Fairfax County. We don't want them, but we're gonna cover them up somehow with lattice work or something.
My understanding is that you can avoid them if you're less than 11 feet from the support to grade.
Really?
That it's only above 11 feet that they're absolutely required.
It's pretty close.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that was a
Oh,
comment.
that's a great, what did you say?
11 feet. I'll ask because we went back and forth and I went down to Fairfax twice to find somebody that could answer the question. Wind bracing and the whole 9 yards, because they
Ask
wanted
an
more glass. in
architect or
there.
somebody, don't ask the county because,
Well, the architects will do it, but they want a whole bunch of money to cover that all up.
Hey,
no, you don't.
I shouldn't say the architects, I should say the contractors.
The
7 feet.
use of cinder block on the, when you look at the elevation drawings, it's not very appealing, so, but perhaps it'll work out, but I make a comment there.
It looks like cinder block, and I don't know why that is showing like that. We're not planning to use fucking cinder block.
Okay, well, and both
I
sides.
mean,
Where-
it'll be probably.
I'm commenting on the larger facade
Yes,
where
where
we're
you
digging
wanna
out
put
the
the door.
crawl space.
Oh, the door, right. Right now, it's, that's what exists underneath like a green painted concrete sort of
I mean,
stuff.
Yeah.
that's the existing
Right,
foundation.
yeah, okay.
And then
This was down there.
the concept of using stone on the chimney as a comment, I don't know if again, the drawings tell me one thing, but it might look very good in reality, but at the moment, it just seems like an unnatural break from the cladding to all of a sudden stone, but you are using stone on the front, so. Those were my only comments, otherwise, that's it.
Don't you have pictures of our next door neighbor
Yeah, I
with
did.
They're-
the
They're in
same?
there somewhere.
Unless you've got them back,
No.
Oh, I took all the photos out
all
of
the
the
photos out and let one
have
around,
all the photos in your hand.
so they might be on the table.
It might have been something I said.
Yeah. We're basically doing
So
the
I had
same
to
thing
get a
that they
bunch
did.
of views of our house. I know. Like, maybe, you know, like what it would look like from our neighbors' views and that sort of thing. Those were primarily from all the 7 people we had to get to sign a new form versus just the 2 people that we did when we first started this. Okay.
Anything else, Ken?
No, that's it.
Okay, Neil?
So there's a lot here to look at, and I think most of it is conceptually fine. For me, I think a lot of it's in the details of the execution. Could just be improved a little bit without hopefully a whole lot of trouble. So maybe if you can get both of those elevations on the screen at the same time,
Existing and
the new and the existing.
there you go.
So the addition on the left really sort of looks now like it doesn't blend in with the rest of the house so much. You know, the original house had the vertical siding running everywhere and the roof tied through from the left. Now there's that strong vertical line essentially separating the original first floor with its new addition on top from the rest of the house.
I don't know why it shows like that, because it's tied, they're tying into the same roof structure.
It would be nice if it could tie in. Right now, the addition sort of is the biggest thing on the whole front of the house, and it kind of diminishes the entrance, even with all the stone that you're proposing. And then the window locations, it's already been mentioned, but try to get some alignment between the triple window on the first floor and then the two new rectangular windows on the second floor. Just
Right.
push things around a little bit. And as already has been mentioned, if you're doing the little signature octagon window in the middle, it would be nice if it was in the middle. I mean, because this addition is now the tallest, biggest part of the house. So I assume they're doing this so you can get a higher ceiling in the bedroom than what the current second floor structure allows.
Well, actually, and this is where one of the places we went back and forth. When I was reviewing the original drawings, there was a 6-inch step up into the master bedroom. And I thought that was ridiculous, and especially coming right off a stairwell that comes up into there. So we asked what it would cost to make it level, and it was more money, but that's the current plan. And I don't know why, because there's no place to put windows. I mean, it should be tying in directly with the roof here. I mean, it should be the same height, because there's an attic crawl space, or not even a crawl space, but there's an attic up here that currently exists. It's got a ceiling fan, you can walk up there and that whole 9 yards.
So moving along to a couple of other items,
Okay.
just to be a little blunt, to me, it looks really odd to have stone sitting on top of wood siding like you've proposed at the chimney. It would be great if you wanted to put the stone all the way down to the ground, but there's no construction I know of where stone naturally, a heavy, weighty foundation type material, visually wants to sit on top of wood siding. That's
Okay.
just not a good.
Yeah, I wish we had the photographs, because this shows it's coming out, but this is flush. It doesn't, the current chimney doesn't stick out.
In that case, I still don't get it. I mean, if you want to encase the chimney flue, you can, but it makes no sense to me to do it in stone when it's up in the air, resting on wood siding. That's just kind of bizarre, from my viewpoint.
I don't know, drive down Upper Lake and every chimney except ours is stone.
Yeah, but not sitting up on top of it.
It wouldn't look like that, it would be, well, anyway.
The sliders go to the rear elevation. Yeah. So in the new master bedroom, you know, just the slight misalignment of the slider out to the deck from the triple window next to it, the heads of those windows really want to align. I mean, that's the sort of detail that doesn't seem like it would be that hard to achieve. Just line the heads up, and it'll look better. It'll look like somebody thought about it a little bit more. And then to me, once you add the window and the door in the former crawl space, it's no longer crawl space, and you've got trim around the door, you've got trim around the window, how that interfaces with the concrete block. To me, it should have siding further onto the face of the block so that it looks like finished space, because you're drawing attention to it.
It will.
When you put a door and a window in it.
It's gonna have siding down to the same level, it'll match this.
Yeah, continue it all the way around,
Right.
it'd be great.
There's stone down here, and there, but yes, yeah, we're not gonna have it like that.
Just to comment on the unapproved walkway and exterior patio stuff, I think it's okay. It's enough variation to my eye in the modular system that you've used, and the color is natural enough where I think it meets the intent of the design guidelines. If you could use all exactly the same size modular block, I would have trouble with it, because our guidelines say that you aren't allowed
Well,
to
there's
do
your
that.
photos, that's what.
So I'm just saying I can vote to approve what you've done.
Is that on the agenda, Margot?
It wasn't initially, but it needs to be.
Okay.
And those are my comments.
Okay, Margot.
We would like you
What does he want?
to see a picture
Okay. Here?
up or down. Which way? Down?
way you want?
Did you think?
So you see, that's the current chimney, it's just a pipe sticking up. If you looked at our neighbors here and our neighbors here, they have stone on, one of them's on wood and the other one's just stone on top of it. Nice big.
But it
huge
doesn't project, is what you're saying?
What's
It
that?
doesn't project? It's flat with the
The
wall?
chimney, the wall is flush with the side of the house.
There's,
Yours?
Yours. Looks like it
Yeah.
sticks, all the drawings show it sticks out.
Yeah, they've drawn two lines that make it indicate that your chimney is beside the house, not inside the house.
it's inside the house.
So the brick or the stone would be actually sitting on the roof,
Right, yeah, you can get
not on
around.
the side, on the roof.
Yeah, it's just all the drawings show is sticking out,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah,
So-
that's what the issue
That's why
was.
it gets a nice section.
Still a little bizarre. Yes, but
Okay, all right. Nick?
Yeah, I'll echo a couple things that have been said. I don't know if the stone is an appropriate material to keep with the rest of this. I don't know if I'm comfortable with the way it looks on that front elevation right now. I echo the same concern with the chimney, and it just looks kind of peculiar the way it's set up there. On the front elevation with the misaligned windows, it's been said a couple times now. I don't know that I can really get past the alignment of those. I don't know if the ground floor windows need to be spread out more. I know that creates more work, but does that give the symmetry you need to make that all work together? That might be one way to do it. The metal roof, I'm kind of neutral on. I don't know how I really feel about it. I kind of prefer all the same roofing material, but I'm not gonna get hung up on that. I really like the rear elevation with the sunroom. I think that's a nice looking piece of this, and I think you said it, you're gonna do the siding with furring on the basement level. I think that's critical to help tie all that together. That was really a big picture that hasn't been said yet, or in conjunction with.
Okay, I had a couple of comments and some questions. I think some of this has been hit on already. I mean, basically this house is one of those kind of period pieces of contemporary houses that got done in 60s or 70s or whenever it got done.
Sort of, we bought it because it wasn't as contemporary as
Yeah.
every other house in Reston, but yes.
But I mean, I'm familiar with the houses on that street, and it's kind of a low to the ground, angular, contemporary house. So when you add to it, I think there are a couple of little things, little tweaks that can happen that I think will make it a better design. And Neil hit on a couple of them. And what you're saying is, if you go back, well, any of those, like the front elevation, the proposed elevation on the top there, what I'm hearing you say is the ridge line is consistent all the way across. It doesn't
Right.
bump up like the drawings show.
Yeah, we actually wanted windows on 4 sides so we get sun from every angle.
Let-
but
Bear with me for
Okay,
a
go
second. Okay, so if that ridge line drops down so it's consistent all the way across,
Mhm.
and then, so then would the gutter line, so the gutter line
Right.
would also run all the way across. I think that solves a couple of the problems of having this look like it fits the existing house. Because right now, some of the comments you're hearing does not look like it fits the house. I mean, it's a low slung angular contemporary house. And if you carry that ridge line across, you drop the gutter line so it matches the existing gutter line above the front piece, that's a huge help. I think, I mean, what we're looking at are the drawings. Either way, with the chimney, I think what you're hearing is the stone sitting on top is gonna look peculiar.
Right.
And I think it would be a stronger element if you discontinued the siding. These are only comments you're hearing, okay? I had to outline the little portico. The portico over the front door is existing, you're not changing that?
Changing it, no.
Okay, and where's the red roof on that going? I kind of lost you there.
Across, so what?
Oh, it's the roof runs all the way
So what
across.
changes is that?
The existing
Okay.
is kind of like
So
and I was looking
it's
at it from, it's like a clear panel right now, right? I was looking at it from the street. It looks like
Actually, I
a-
put metal up there to see.
Is that what it is, metal? I couldn't tell what it was, I drove by earlier today, I couldn't,
Yeah.
is that what it is, metal up there?
Right here is what's existing with an asphalt type standard roof.
Okay,
So I put in the plastic you were talking about. wrap,
Yeah, 'cause-
cover it, and then I changed it to
Oh,
metal
okay.
to see what it would look
I see,
like.
okay.
But they're gonna change the whole thing across, so it's standard all the way across.
So from the bottom of the windows on the second floor, and where your little portico sticks out, the roof will actually tongue out a little bit over that. In other words, the slope stays the same, it just keeps
Yes.
coming at you.
Yes,
Okay, and that's all red?
this part, right? here.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I was trying to be clear here. Okay, adding siding over the block on the bottom has already been mentioned, and I think that's good. The footprint we've talked about is actually, the sunroom is actually larger.
Yes, so this.
That's
this is what
okay.
you're talking about here.
And the block walls at the back, I think those are okay. We frequently have some consternation. You can sit back down again. Yeah. That way also you're at the microphone and we can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
Otherwise,
Usually pretty loud, but okay.
posterity will be missing.
There, that's
what you're
right.
saying, see, so. But I think there's enough variation in that's okay. But I think just some little tweaking here and there with the ridge line, the gutter line on the addition, lining up some of the stuff. I mean, everything on that house fits the angles and the walls and everything. So it's just I think a question of, it's an architectural term, tweaking.
Got it. We use it too.
Yeah. But I think those are the only comments that I had. I think the siding colors, everything you're proposing there makes sense. And some of the vertical alignments, like on the, I don't know, there's not a whole lot you can do about this, but on the rear where you've got two sliding glass door in the middle, and I don't know if it's just fixed panes on either side.
On the right,
In the center of the house,
Existing.
on the existing.
In the center, those are existing.
So there's
Big
just, are those just big fixed panels?
They're sliding, slide.
Well, I mean,
What,
No, the things that look like pieces of glass. There's a
Yeah,
sliding
like
glass
here.
door in the middle.
these are
No,
solid.
down, first floor, first floor, first floor.
First floor.
These slide right now.
And
No,
no,
up one.
up one,
One.
What's that?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, those are solid glass.
that's just big pieces of glass.
Right.
Okay, and I gather there's something sticking out over that because it looks like they're columns.
There's a pergola there now.
There's a pergola over the whole thing.
Yes.
And that dark bit that's above it is what?
It's a brown pergola and we didn't, we
Ah,
told them that, again, it's an issue with the
so
contractor.
that's just
That'll be
staying
painted.
staying there.
Right.
Okay, so when the sunroom comes across, the gutter on the sunroom just misses it.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah, okay, that's all right. Yeah, the point Neil brought up about the angle braces on the deck,
Yeah.
see what Fairfax has to say about that.
Well, and just to make the point, it's not a deck anymore either. You're putting a sunroom there, so.
Right, so that may be an issue.
Well, I think to me, it needs to be engineered to carry the sunroom without the knee braces. I mean, this is a nice house, and the knee braces don't look so.
No, they're ugly.
No,
We
they are
agree.
ugly.
We completely agree.
Yeah, and like, you've added the knee braces under the sunroom, but not underneath the rest of the deck, so consistency would go a long way there. Those are the only other comments I had. Anybody else have anything else, Mike?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of have a lot. So I'm just looking at the drawings. I know it sounds like some of them are correct, some of them are not. Is every window being replaced? Because when I'm looking at the window schedule, some are called out as existing, some are called out as new. Is your understanding that every single window is being
Except for the
replaced?
sliding door and the very
So those are gonna
bottom
be
of that,
different colored, though?
every single window's changed.
But those right now are kind of like a dark,
They're all the old Reston aluminum
Right.
brown that are,
so those are gonna be different looking. So just so you,
yes.
okay. I'm just making sure that I understand that
Only
application
one.
fully.
Just the basement slider is the only existing that's staying. Is that correct?
Well,
And from when I'm looking at the schedule, there's a lot that's existing
What-
according to this thing. So I want to be clear, what is existing, what is not?
you pay a lot of money for custom
Oh,
windows.
trust
So
me, I know.
wherever Pella came closest, so maybe there's a 72 inch instead of an 80 inch because it's standard, yes, but they're all getting changed. So if you're asking like, does a window size?
I guess I want to make sure that on every single elevation, that I see a window, you know, this back window has, there's what, maybe 40 windows on there.
Right.
They're all gonna be the same color.
Yes.
All the doors and windows are all gonna be the same color.
They'll all
I'm
be-
not too worried about the little bit of size difference here and there. I like
Right,
all the
okay.
head heights to be the same, and I like all the windows to be the
No,
same.
they're all, yeah, they're all Pella.
That's what I just wanted to make sure,
Standard.
because the window schedules are very confusing, so I would just make sure you clarify that with the,
Yes,
the
I
contract.
completely agree with you on that.
I had the question about the pergola, which it sounds like it's gonna just be kind of modified and then just painted the gray to match the house, right? The railing, we haven't really talked about the back railing. You have two options in your application.
Yes.
Are you wanting to go with, are you asking our opinion, or are you have a
No,
preference?
we
You
have
want
a
the
preference.
vertical or the horizontal?
Well, we want to go vertical only because we don't want kids climbing over it. But, so I prefer the horizontal, but we're going vertical, so our
With the
kids-
darker picket though, it looks like the application has a darker picket
Yes.
and then the gray would be
With
the.
stainless steel in between, right?
Okay. The gutters are called out as a cream color, is that,
No, I don't know
Okay.
why you got
so
that.
there should be a gray,
There's
Yeah,
a sample
There's
here
even a
for the
metal
gray,
sample there.
Okay.
but it's in.
but the
in
drawings,
application, it says gray.
are, well, I guess what I'm saying is, you know, there still needs to be some clarification before I'm willing to kind of approve it, just because the drawings aren't really talking about what you're saying is gonna happen, so that's where it's a little confusing.
I just got to tell you, every time we ask them to do anything with drawings, the price goes up.
Yeah.
So,
The more detail, the better, unfortunately, for what, you know, honestly, when it comes down to building it, the more detail you have, the better. I mean, there's a lot of detail missing from the set of drawings right now. Just if I were to sit down and build it, I mean, I build stuff all day. I couldn't build this right now to an exact spec because I don't have enough information. It's kind of my point. The siding, you're proposing the textured siding, the textured hardy plank?
samples there.
Right. I personally, I think it ends up looking too fake. I like this is smooth, and you can see it just looks, I don't know, it just looks cleaner in my opinion. That's just a minor note that I had.
I have to go look.
And then the light fixtures, are you pulling off all the old fixtures and putting new fixtures on? Because I didn't see
No,
any.
the lights stay the same.
They're gonna pull them off though and reinstall the old lights back on.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it looks like, are you re-roofing the whole house, or is that why they maybe stepped it up? Because that might be why they stepped up that addition, because you're not
They
re-roofing the whole house.
stepped it up because we went with that, they had a 6-inch step up, and they thought we wanted 10-foot ceilings in the master bedroom, and that was an extra 30, 40 grand, and we said, no, we don't
Right.
want that.
But are you guys re-roofing the whole house?
No.
We may end up re-roofing.
Yeah,
the
because
house,
it's,
but-
well, and that's my point,
So
is that it's gonna be very hard to
Right,
wrap it in together with
I
an
got
old roof and a new roof, right?
Sure.
So maybe that's probably why they ended up stepping it up, because it's easier
No,
for them from
it-
their,
not that tall.
their
we
construction
probably need to
point.
re-roof the whole thing,
Uh,
whether we use them or somebody else.
So we're not, no.
I do like the cedar shingle though on this. This house is a very nicely well-done house. It has the beautiful cedar shingle, it's got the really nice eave detail kind of with the siding. It's very unique, it's very kind of Reston. So if you're taking cues from this house, I think that's smart, because I think they have good details. But I would just make sure that these details kind of get onto your drawings. And I believe, yeah, that's all I have.
Should we leave you alone for a couple minutes and
Yeah.
come up with some more?
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions?
I just had one for clarification. This drawing, which we admit is not good, shows verticals on the front and the back where the addition, and there will be the siding will be continuous all the way across,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Those lines shouldn't be there,
Right.
I guess.
Right, I mean, the rear wall.
I think that the room isn't fatter or anything, so the siding will be continuous all the way across.
See, that's existing, so, right.
Yeah, and even on the second floor there, the siding, I mean, Charlie's point's well taken, that there's a
It
line
makes it
that
look like
shouldn't be
there's
there.
something there.
It doesn't stick out.
Right, yes.
It's all
yes.
flush,
Right.
yeah.
No, I'm good.
Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the proposed modifications in concept to include a new second floor addition over the first floor on the left-hand side of facing from the front, including the sunroom in the back of the house on the left-hand side in the back, and ask that the applicant study and revise the following: that the ridge line and eave line of the addition match the second floor of the house, that the window heads align between windows in the addition, and that the windows in the addition align with the heads of the windows in the house, that the sunroom, supports not have the 45-degree braces, that the chimney may have stone if it sits fully on the roof, but if it projects from the house at all, that be studied to be a continuous material all the way to the ground. That the basement foundation that's being turned into habitable space be clad in the same siding as the rest of the house, and that the applicant resubmit once those items have been addressed.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I would suggest we include the new roof over everything. As the applicant has said, you didn't mention the new roof over everything,
I'm personally okay with the roof, and add that to the motion.
but if all this is, okay.
Oh, the asphalt shingle, I missed you.
Okay.
So
And
what was the amendment?
Either closely match or re-roof the whole house, and
yeah, if the ridge drops down, then all this is one plane, that's what I'm
and
saying.
you're sometimes able to match reasonably well.
Depends on how old the
How
old
old
it
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
And if
I'm
not,
a bit concerned about the Arctic window location.
okay, so in the front of the house, we need to address the window placement in the addition. This is one of the ones I missed. That the second floor windows align with first floor windows and be symmetrically composed.
Okay,
Or otherwise revised.
all right.
Anything else missed?
I guess with the confusion Mike was having with the window schedule, we probably want to add something that all the windows are to be the same color.
And confirm that all the windows are the same color. And probably manufacturer, but say color.
And do we need to say anything about the pergola that is being painted to match?
I got it.
You got it? Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. There you go.
Okay, I just have one final comment for you all to consider, and I don't know if you have anything to do with it or not, but we started this process over a year ago with Reston, and we followed the rules then with 2 signatures on each side of us. And all of a sudden, it got escalated, and we've been back and forth with the RA for months now to get here tonight. We needed 7 signatures, including 2 houses that can't even see our house. So consider if you want people to continue to come get approvals and try to improve their homes in Reston, that you make the process easier, not more difficult. We're dealing with 630 units going down at the end of our street, and we're not even sure we want to stay here, and yet we're trying to follow the process here.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think part of it is, as you sort of witnessed this evening, we need to really see what you're proposing. And even tonight, a year later, first time, A, we've seen it, and B, even the drawings we're seeing aren't what you're building. So that puts us in a spot.
I
We
got
need
you.
to see
And
what
that's
you're
why I
building.
submitted so many photographs and
I understand that.
samples and all that kind of stuff, so
But
we don't
that-
get a
that's-
purple house like we have
Right,
down the
so we're not
street.
trying to drag this out. It's just there's certain things we're seeing that we can't say, oh, sure, that's fine. And then you build this, and we're like, well, that's not what we meant. You know, so that's why we're trying to clarify it, that's all.
Okay.
But I appreciate your concern. One other thing, do we want to have a motion to approve all the stonework in the back
Existing work in the back.
as a separate thing? Because it was discussed briefly as approvable.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Do you want to make? a
So
motion?
moved.
Okay, there's a motion to approve all the stonework in the back, and Mike seconded it.
All in favor?
All, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're done.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll take about a 20-minute break. Just kidding.
Joe, can I get this?
I know, it's just, I don't think they heard me. Okay, the Springs, or the Springs here, Springs Apartments. Come on up, have a seat. Try to sit close to a microphone if you can. There are only 2 there, but. Yeah, just move the microphones around so everybody's close to one. Or there's one over on the podium too, Anna, so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
So you're ready?
tell us who you are.
Okay, that's
Just very
easy.
curious.
That's the easy part, and I hope that gets approved.
I'll start off actually. I'm
Yeah.
Bonnie Delisi, represent Lerner in this application.
Matthew Blush, I also represent Lerner in this application.
Rosanna Torres, architect with GTM Architects, representing the owners.
I'm Kim Lee with GTM Architects as well.
Well, welcome all of you. Floor is yours.
All right, Rosanna, you're on.
Do you want to say?
I would like for you to do your magic.
Okay, so let's see, first magic. Nope, the wrong button. Second magic. So we are here to talk about the Springs at Reston, which is like a garden apartment community and has like 362 apartments. This is an aerial photo of it. There are approximately, I think, 28 buildings, if I'm correct. And it's in a beautiful green area, phenomenal landscape. And here's again an overview. So I don't have a pointer here, and I don't want to be.
You can stand up and go
I
over there.
can't stand up.
Just take the microphone with you, please.
Oh, yeah, there was this.
There you go.
Okay, so,
You can just set it down, so it's not in your hand.
okay.
Yeah, great, thanks.
So, so right now, this is here the main entrance at the Colts Neck Road, and here we have our existing leasing office, and in the middle, in a nice picnic and green area, we have the playground area. What we want to do here is to modernize all of the buildings. And you will understand very quickly why. I mean, it has very much a look that it is not up to date, and not that everything needs to be up to date, but this also doesn't really have any kind of character. The entrances, as an example, they don't have, and nothing leads you to the entrances. Everything is the same color. Here's the typical entrance in the middle. To the right, we have the building rear. More photos of the massing of some of the buildings, how they are being put together. And again, if you see railing, roof, gutters, everything is the same color. It's a tremendous monotony, and it's not very attractive. Here we're just pointing out some of the issues that we are dealing with. We have outdated roof that needs to be changed, not only for the aesthetics. We have stucco on top of CMU. There is no insulation, so we want to change that. We have windows trims that is made out of wood, and it is just falling apart. The railings, which could be an attractive element for buildings like this, just create here again the opposite, as well as the undefined building entrances. And the windows are aluminum sliders. They are not up to date. And I'm talking about, energy efficiency. So what we want to suggest is, first of all, is the entrances, to give that whole building a new face. And we want to emphasize and enhance more the entrances by making it a more dominant design element. We are also, I can't reach up there, but at the entrance of the roofs. We have one of the roofs, it's like a shed roof. And that shed roof is something like, listening to some of the conversations earlier, I wish you guys would have had some influence in it. But, and only half of the roof here is an overhang, and then there is some kind of an opening. So we want to take that away and modernize the whole entrance. This is supposed to be cementitious board. We have here a metal, which is like corrugated. This, and every time here where we have the entrance, there is a repetitive element in it. It is all going to be metal, like saying here, I am the entrance. Then we continue with colors that complement each other. And we are putting ephes with like 2 inches of insulation on it, which helps us then have vertical and horizontal reveals. We're putting in new railings, new balcony cover plates, because right now the concrete slab is very thin. I think it's only like 4 inches. And we think it should be more emphasized. The rear is very similar. It's the same similar design elements. So instead now of having also like what we had before, one big horizontal massing, we're trying to define it in different blocks and get away a little bit from the monotony up there. The side, we are going to treat it in a very similar way than the front and the rear. Here, what we are doing, this is the kitchen. And here in these situations, we have 2 exits to the balcony. And what we want to do here is get rid of one slider, not from the living room, but from the kitchen, and put in a fixed full height window in there. That allows the interior, it has it doesn't change very much on the outside, but on the inside, what it will do, it will allow people to put furniture again, so to have a usable wall, basically.
Rosanna, I think you misspoke. It's actually, there will be a sill, very much like.
Oh, there
the
will be
other
a sill?
ones. Yeah. I think that was.
Okay, then I apologize for that.
I'm sorry, what was the clarification?
She misspoke. They're not full height to the ground windows. There will be a sill. It'll be sill
okay.
height.
Okay, and now that Bonnie mentioned about me, that I misspoke, I remembered something was what I should have started this presentation. And that is that today we are here and we would like to have a final approval for this. And I want to say that I did a little bit of a faux pas. This presentation that is here, it is not the one that you received. But I have to say that this presentation was sent out to all of the neighbors. And we have here today details, and we have all of the finishes. So the color concept. This is a very big site, and we thought that color here could be our friend, and that we could have a series of compatible colors that we could strategically select throughout the neighborhoods. And what we would like to do is we would like to create in this big community, like 3 different neighborhoods that have different color schemes. And we call this like neighborhood 1, that we would like to call meadow scheme, neighborhood 2, forest scheme, and the lake scheme is neighborhood 3. And obviously the lake scheme would be more in the blue, the forest in the green, and the meadow more in this beige. So, and I want to start here, this is neighborhood 2, this is the forest scheme. This is going to be in all of the neighborhoods always the same, because we want to create the same identity throughout. where we have the entrance flanked with cementitious boards. We are putting a new storefront in here, which right now is also not energy efficient, and it is an aluminum window system, single glass. It's definitely going to be double glass. A new security system, a canopy, which we right now do not have, and we hope that this helps, you know, in days where it is rainy and so on, helps the tenants. Here, we're modernizing it with metal roof, standing seam, and corrugated metal. The roofs are all going to be in a dark color fiberglass shingles. This is all going to be EFS that you see, except the railing is going to be aluminum. The metal cover here will be aluminum. We have a base that is brick. And here we have EFS trim. This is trim all in a darker color to pull the windows closer together and grouping them. And then of course, the vertical and then the horizontal reveals. This is the lake scheme in blue. Again, the entrance always stays the same. We wanted to give it some continuity there. I think I jumped over one. No, this is the first one. This is the meadow scheme, I'm sorry. Forest scheme, lake scheme. Here you can see all of the three color schemes together. And again, entrance stays, like where you see the letter A, depending what neighborhood it is, you can see it on top. B is in each neighborhood going to be the same. And C, which is in the back of the balcony, just to give it a little bit of a pop, a little bit of an accent, is going to be these three colors, again, depending in what neighborhood. We definitely wanted to have these similar but not alike. Now, for the trim and the insert panels, we are using in all of these three neighborhoods the same colors. Details. So we cut here a couple of sections. This is at the entrance. And the pointer doesn't work. So this is new, and this is new, and this is new from the construction side. Because before what we had is a, can I have the mouse, does that work? Is that the one we need?
This is all I can do for you.
Okay, okay. Can I just touch that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So before the roof went up and down, which created, if you are looking from down here, it created a lot of roof area. Proportionally, we don't think it was correct. So that's why we try to shorten the roof by coming out with this and emphasizing the entrance. But basically, this here has not changed. This line is the same, only new storefront, new canopy. This would be a typical section through one of our main entrances. The gutters are new, the downspouts are new. The second section is B, which goes through a window. And here you can see, this is a little bit too small, but here you can see the EFS sill, EFS infill, new window, and the storm. And that is just detail C, which takes us through the regular wall without any windows and doors. This is now at the railing. This is where we are suggesting to put an aluminum railing in it. This is how we are going to be mounting it, with a top plate and a bottom plate, because the concrete is just very thin. And then we are creating here a metal panel out of aluminum to cover it and to give it more depth. This just shows some of the new materials that we are adding to that we're adding to this project. Like the gutters, the fiber cement, the thin brick. The thin brick is down here. The windows, the door patios, the canopies. We are also putting in 2 new light sconces because right now that area is not lit very well. So we have to the left and to the right some can lighting. And we have new building signage. This is a typical EFS detail, how we envisioned our sills and our reveals, which will then get painted. The gutters and downspouts for the entrances. And here we have our fiber cement. And maybe at this point, I think we can maybe turn, I'm not forgetting this, I'm taking this with me. Okay. So here you can see the 3 different color schemes that we're using for the 3 different neighborhoods. And again, it was important for us not to create a rainbow situation out there. We wanted them all to harmonize and to work well together. This would be the cementitious board in this color. And here we have the baseboard, the thin brick at the base. And this is going to be our EFS finish that will get these colors. And here we have the new balcony sliders and windows, which are all going to be in black. The railing, this is going to be the profile, this is going to be the look. This is just a photo from the web. But this is also going to be also black, as well as the cover is going to be all in this black. The storefront is going to be black. This is the color of the fiberglass shingles, and this will be the color of the main entrance. The metal, the aluminum standing seam roofing. And this is just an example of the roofing. But these are all of our color schemes and materials. This is the brick veneer for the base. We did not want the EFS to go all the way down. We felt that it needs a good, strong base, which we didn't have before. The stucco just went all the way down to the ground. This is our roof. Number 6, this is the standing seam and the fiberglass shingles. The windows, vinyl windows, they're going to be all new and in black, as well as the sliders. We chose black because we wanted to have it an accent in the facade, and we wanted to give it a more modernized look. The storefront system in black, the railing. This is our slab edge cover. This would be the corrugated metal above with the canopy number 14. Then we have here on the side some mechanical units that we also would cover with a grill. These are our can lights. It would be in black. And our signage that is illuminated. Halo illuminated. Yeah, halo, yeah. Halo. And new door hardware. So You can see again our 3 different neighborhoods. And regarding the landscape, what we are doing, we are not removing any trees at all, but we are installing new annuals and new ground cover and some shrubs. Some of the shrubs are a little bit older, so we want to put in some new ones. And then maybe we are considering installation of some ornamental trees with some special entrances, like the leasing office. And this is the presentation.
So, I just wanted to see if I could speak. So this has been, for our organization, it's been about 9 to 12 months in the planning stages, trying to get all of our necessary approvals in-house. We're very excited about this. It's obviously an investment in the property. We're going to be around for a long time. This is the first step in a CapEx program. It's going to go on for several years. We're in the process right now of adding washers and dryers to our units and eliminating the public shared facilities. We have done some interior renovations in the past, so this is going to help kind of bring the outside of the project where it should be. Matt, do you want to do that?
No, it's just, we're trying to give you a really good look at a comfortable feel, and breaking up the neighborhoods. I think we're trying to make it not only more contemporary, but it also goes back to the history of Reston, the way it was designed, the way it was done for lakefronts and things like that. I think the design does that. A lot of the things we've done for the improvements of the railings and things is we're not tying them to the buildings, we're separating them, putting turn posts in, only through bolted on the slabs themselves. So this is for a long-term renovation. It's fixing it so it's not tied to the building that moves. The roofs themselves, the gutters and downspouts in black so that everything trims in and fits. We're replacing every single window and doors on the project. All aluminum new storefronts on the front with a new security system with cameras on the front. We're trying to give it a really fresh, beautiful look that we can all be proud of. We want to be proud of it. So as you can see, it's rather dated. That's why we're one of the issues we have around Reston that people don't really realize as much as when you have Dulles Airport close by. The black streaks that you're seeing on the roofs around these areas is not just from pollution, it's also from the jets that fly over us. So one of the reasons we're choosing a lot of the colors we're choosing is because it'll stay clean. It'll look nice, it's not gonna get the streaks all over the side of the building and the roofs and things. And I think we've really done a good job of thinking long-term of keeping this looking nice for the next 30 years or so. So, and the materials we have picked are not easily damaged. And the roofs that we're putting on are the architectural lifetime shingles. The way they're being installed is they will withstand 160-mile-an-hour winds, which, as you know, as storms are getting worse all the time, we're trying to look forward at making sure that the buildings stand up safely also. So that's what we're really trying to do.
And just a general comment, that's a wonderful presentation. I mean, that's very impressive.
Thank you.
Just a couple of questions. I mean, I think conceptually, it rings a lot of bells around here, but just a really nice project. A couple of just sort of questions.
Yeah.
Okay. If we have an affected party, I guess, raise your hand if you're an affected party for this project.
Yes,
Okay. You want to step up and make sure the green light is on the microphone. Let's hear what you have to say. Identify yourself, please. The green light on? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, hi. I guess I'm technically an affected party. I own a property, right next to the senior living facility. So it's in Hunter's Woods. I received the flyer about tonight's meeting. I don't know, I have some general questions, regarding this. Is this currently a complex that people own in, or are they only renting?
Rent.
Only renting? Gotcha. So at this present time, they're only renting as well? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then also, just a general comment. I think it looks very nice, but, not even a but it looks similar also, I would comment to the senior living facility right next door. It just kind of reminds me a little bit of it, but overall, I think it's positive.
Oh, you're hurting my heart.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, I like them both. They flow
Okay.
well together, sorry if you didn't.
I think it is very hard, buildings that,
The color scheme at least, I think are a little bit similar, maybe I'm, yeah.
with the colors, I think, I mean, you have to stay a little bit neutral and something that fits already the massing that is there.
And the people that are currently living in it, are they going to live throughout the duration of the project? Okay,
Maybe you want to
Yes,
say
they will, yes.
okay, how long do you expect the project to last? You said a couple of years?
No, this is the first step in a CapEx program.
Yeah, this is the first step in a long run of renovations to it, so
But for the exteriors, what do you anticipate?
16 months or so.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, back to what I was saying. Just a couple of sort of physical questions. I've used EFS in a couple of projects, and they've come out with different applications of that, and it will affect the outside of the buildings in terms of providing drainage behind the EFS that you put on, and the detail you showed seemed like it was pretty close to the surface. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. It's probably not going to change the way anything looks, but people have had some serious problems
Absolutely.
with stuff not draining, so,
it will be a drainable system.
okay. That's unbelievably important, otherwise it just all falls off after about 3 years.
I don't want them to come back.
Yeah.
And we've looked at that very extensively. It's a cinder block building,
Right,
so, yeah, you have to
it's
make
just
sure.
one of those things you have to be
Which is
careful
why
of, so,
every roof, every cornice, everything is being replaced because we're waterproofing it from the top down.
right,
So,
okay.
yes.
And your request to have a final approval makes me ask the next question. I think the palettes you've come up with are excellent.
Oh,
I think the
great.
colors are excellent. I think it really is gonna change this whole project positively. Is there any way, when you say we're gonna have a black window, there are a million different kinds of black windows. Well, can we get more, because when these guys go out, when the staff goes out, when it's all done, they need to be able to say, yep, they did what they said. And just to say a black window doesn't give them a lot of ways of checking what that
I will have
is.
a window made for you with the colors and I can drop it off to you. Would you like
Okay,
that?
well, the end of my question
With
is.
Robin Lane,
How many?
That's where I look
Is
at
a
it.
chance,
Okay.
yeah.
No, but in terms
Is
of
it 15 or?
some kind of, and we don't need this specifically tonight, but if we can get something that's referable and checkable, like
We have that.
that roof, great color, everything's fine, but is it a GAF, is it who made it? So we have a spec for it.
Okay,
Oh.
it's an IKO roof.
Right.
Yeah, whatever it is, just
We
so.
do intend, I mean, there are certain portions of this that we intend to bid, so it's kind of difficult for us necessarily to come up with exact, we want to sort of do an or equal if we could.
That's fine.
If that's
That's
okay.
fine. But just something, so it's like, you heard us talk to the people with the house before, specifically, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So that we have some way of going, well, it's not just a black window, it's a window, that, we
Yeah,
just
we
need
have
to
a
know
window
that.
sample, we have the sample of that window that we looked at.
Whether we need a sample, we just need to know who makes it.
A little, gotcha.
Just because vinyl windows, you could get somebody who has one that's a 5-inch reveal where there's ones that's 2-inch,
Yeah,
and it all
Yeah.
kind of.
We'll give you a
that's all.
sample window. As a matter of fact, we've gone painstakingly gone to where the
Okay.
window manufacturer and the sliding glass door manufacturer, this is local, it's in Laurel.
Oh.
So and IKO shingles are made in New Jersey.
Okay,
And IKO, by the way, is who supplies Certainty with a lot of their products. They're the largest shingle manufacturer and the heaviest and the best shingle in the United States.
okay, good.
So that's what we're.
That's just the kind of stuff we need to know. It's not-
Well, we can get that to you, yes.
And the cementous panels, I guess, your little columns of, I'll call it the brown columns, cementous material, we just need a, what is that Hardy plank, is it any of the other?
It's like a Nichiha.
Yeah.
It's like a Nichiha
I
or
can't read
similar.
that far away, but that has a name on it?
Well, no, but that's what's.
Yeah, we just need a name, that's all, just so we know what it is.
And the name of the company that makes
Yeah, the
them?
manufacturer, who makes it,
Okay,
just so we have something to check against it later in the future. And I think that, and where you have the cementous materials between the windows, where you have the double windows, there's cementous material back in there, it's gray. in that example?
Oh, that is all ephes. We decided to do this all in ephes.
Oh, so the stuff beneath the windows is just more ephes.
It's more ephes. We had it at first
So the
with
drawings are
Sidewalk.
all wrong.
What?
The drawings are all wrong.
Will it be a different color though, like it is the
Yeah.
variation that you showed?
I will
Alright.
tell the architect.
Okay, yeah, color up.
I will call her up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's gonna be more ephes, but it will be that color. Or
It'll
similar
have that color variation though, or is it gonna be the white? or
It
the
will
light
have
color?
that color
It's
variation.
exactly
Yeah.
like
Okay.
that board.
Okay,
Those are the, that's what.
Okay.
Exactly.
that's good.
We
That's
don't have the
good.
color variations.
We thought to make this out of a hardy panel, but then we thought there's another installer, somebody new, an ephes
Okay.
installer is already out there, so it will be the
Okay.
least problem.
Yeah, just
When
one,
we think about using ephes, we
This
get
is the-
better insulation for the tenants in the building.
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
It's protecting the
Yeah,
outside.
otherwise you gotta, for the thickness of the ephes is what looks like a couple of inches. So,
Yeah, it's about 2
so it's all gonna come out to the same level. Those drawings don't show downspouts. That's one of the questions. They're gonna be black. I got the gutters are black, downspouts are
No,
black.
so the idea is to do the gutters in black and then do the downspouts to probably match the siding so they kind of
Okay.
disappear under the.
So whatever color they're on, that's
And
what
we're
color.
moving, if you look at the existing pictures, the downspouts are on the front, which are very unattractive. So
Right.
we're gonna move the downspouts to the sides of the
Yeah.
building, so that you don't see them on the front anymore. You have a nice clean front to the building.
Well thought out, okay.
Yeah,
Roof
there's
gutters.
stuff to see there.
Yeah, the entrances, you see the little canopies are made out of aluminum. And then, you know, we're building that little roof on the top, which you're still gonna have the existing roof underneath.
Yeah.
But we'll be cutting this section off and then
Okay.
building it out, so you get that architectural
Yeah.
feature to that.
I'm just going to go to the, I'm going to use this as a microphone.
Figured it out.
She's running our presentation.
secret.
So we are taking this, pulling it to the inside
Got it.
here, and then down. And here's what we did not want. Yeah. Oh,
You can see
Yeah,
the,
they're all right
you
on
can see the
the
downspouts already.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
And then you'll see the little squares on the side where the air conditioning units are, that we're gonna change that to an architectural feature so it blends into the building. So you
They're
don't
on the
see
side.
all of that, which we think is gonna look really nice. And then we're gonna, also the vents up on the roof will be different, you know, we're gonna modernize them so they kind of disappear under the roof, so you don't see all these stacks sticking up like that everywhere.
Great.
So, we're trying to make it clean and pleasing, so.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had. Let's run around the table here and see if there are other questions. Charlie?
Just my normal question, all your new lighting will be LED, we assume, if you're going for energy
That's the only thing we
efficient.
like to put in.
Okay, and you mentioned cameras, what are these gonna look like?
They're actually, can I show you real quick?
Sure.
I'm going to click.
I don't need a microphone, I'm pretty loud.
Yeah.
You see this little feature right here by the door? We have a security panel that's put in there. There'll be an eye camera that sits in there so that whoever opens that door, no matter what angle you're coming in from, off the sides or straight to the door, you're seeing that person. So it have a new key fob system that goes in, and you're seeing every single person that enters the building.
Cool. Okay.
So that's what's going right in here.
Just out of curiosity, where does that go?
Hmm?
Where does that go? Who
It goes
sees
back-
that?
It goes back to the security system itself, it goes back to a central system for our security for different properties and this property, that's what's
Okay.
going on.
Charlie, anything else?
No.
Mike?
Just a couple questions. That HVAC panel details, are you replacing all the units with like a magic pack or something like that? Or, because right now they're hanging out of the window. And the new ones, it's now the new flush panels. I'm just curious what,
I can address that, and I apologize for that, but our maintenance guys don't tend to put them back where they belong. They're not supposed to be sticking out there all like
That's
that,
right.
which is why we're changing.
Okay.
Which is why we're changing everything. A lot of the units have already been replaced, we're replacing more of them. It's a split system, okay, so, but no, we won't be putting magic packs in there, but you see how they look right now. We're actually gonna make that look really pretty, kind of disappear, so you can't really see inside.
so you're not proposing all new outdoor condenser units or anything like
Yeah,
that?
they won't be
Okay, okay,
sticking out anymore.
Um,
They'll
and-
actually be inside where they belong.
Is, I mean, the whole presentation is very thorough, which is great. The only question I didn't, site lighting, are you guys updating that at all?
Not right now.
Okay.
Later.
Thank you.
That'll be Yeah, we have
Kathy,
to-
yeah, you all mentioned the landscaping, or you mentioned the landscaping. At some point, we'll look forward to a landscaping plan, which will probably include site lighting.
At some point in the future,
Yeah, yeah.
but right now, it's just replacing
Right.
shrubs and annuals. We're not doing anything major at this point.
Understand, okay, that's good. Neil?
So, you know, a lot of times these renovation and retrofit projects are difficult, and I think this is one of the few that I've ever seen that's not just a retrofit project, it's good architecture. And I like the investment you're putting in it, and I can remember feeling excited.
Would you mind to?
I can remember feeling excited about this on other projects, and then at the last minute, we find out, oh, it was really more expensive than we thought it was gonna be, and so you end up back in here in 3 months with the lesser scheme. Is there any chance that you're gonna end up back in here in 3 months with a lesser scheme?
There's always a chance of that. I mean, the reality is, no, we've been budgeting this as we've gone along. Matt's done a really good job of trying to source as many materials as possible.
Which is
So-
why I wasn't afraid to tell you what I'm doing, because I've already bought the shingles, I've already buying the windows, I'm getting ready.
Not bought, we haven't signed any
Well, you know what I
contracts.
mean, I've already
Selected.
selected, and I already have pricing,
Sourcing,
I'm sourcing everything now, so there's not a lot of surprises, actually.
I mean, it's just such a pleasure to sit on this side of the table and see someone come in thoroughly prepared, thoroughly thoughtful. You know, the neighborhoods, the whole way you thought about it, it may have not been specifically something that was designed to be in Reston, but that's how Reston, I think, likes to think about our communities and our neighborhoods, and you nailed it. I mean, it's
Thank you.
really a pleasure, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That it?
Yep.
Whoever can.
No further comments. My colleagues have stated anything I would have brought up.
Okay, Nick?
Yeah, on the existing building, there's some maybe halide or floodlights that are at the top of the soffit. Are those coming out with this project? And
We're actually gonna make them look a little nicer.
Okay.
They're not gonna be looking like that, we're gonna get a better picture.
okay.
So Charlie mentioned the LEDs, 3,000 or 2,700, nothing brighter than 3,000 or bluer
We
than
don't normally go
3,000.
higher than 3,000.
Great.
So, yeah, and we use the lighter white and the,
Yellow.
yeah, we don't use the
Yeah.
yellow, we use the lighter white, yeah.
You mentioned in your presentation, the can lights are all gonna be black, so I would assume any other lights you put in
Correct.
will be black,
Yeah.
all go together. Okay, I didn't have any other questions.
Oh.
And- oh,
Can you
sorry.
explain the numbering or the lighting behind the numbering? Does it come out from behind it? And
Correct, yeah, I
it
can
does.
speak to sign it. It'll be black on the face,
Yeah.
it'll have a return to it, and then it'll be pin mounted off of the wall
Mm-hmm.
with LED lighting behind it.
Okay.
It's halo illuminated, so
Yeah.
it's very subtle.
Yeah, and it is creating, what we wanted is also something soft and with a glow. And we think with this kind of material, you know, the brownish, I think it's going to create something warm
Okay.
and welcoming.
Yeah.
And the colors also, the color scheme was important for us in the 3 different neighborhoods because we walked there a lot. And originally, we hadn't even thought about this, but we got lost. You know, I mean, this is not a big property, but because everything looks alike, and then that's how the idea started.
Right.
Why not to use it, color as a wayfinder, you know? So simple.
I motion to approve the application that I saw on the presentation tonight. Because the one I have is not as thorough as that
She
one,
said
so
they just
I
brought
just
that
want to
in
make sure that,
tonight.
you know, we're approving that one. But other than that, motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that. I like it.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? This is a final approval.
Thank you. And I just would like to add
Hold on,
some.
we haven't voted yet.
Oh,
We're still gonna wait
You
for
never
you
know.
guys.
okay, I'm waiting.
Okay, there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by
There's a
saying,
playground in the middle of it, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys have a discovery on that before they start stealing children. I'm currently fighting for my child back. I visited the state of Florida and they stole my child from me, and the homeowners, leasing office called the police on me for complaining about hot water. It's not a good police report, to get my child back. She, accused me of wanting to shoot her, and then I was questioning.
what she's saying. I'm not sure I can hear what you were saying.
That's, I think you should.
Julie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know what she was talking about.
it a concern with the building itself? Or
Didn't pertain to
I-
design.
I heard
something?
playground.
With the developer?
I heard playground.
Okay, if it doesn't pertain to the design specifically, then, okay. All right, so we're back to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Can I say now, I think I wanted to thank also Lisa and Margot very much. They really
Yes.
have helped us a lot through this, thank you, through this process. They're really great.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Really glad to see it wasn't a redevelopment.
Okay, South Lakes Drive sidewalk.
Push that side.
If I can have originals, that'd be great.
That's one of the best ones we've ever.
Yeah.
I want to make it clear that we still have hot water and that we get our washers and dryers.
I think you need to talk to the management company
And I'm
about
not
that.
accused of wanting to shoot people or suicidal, and I'm fighting for my child's back. I want to make it clear, don't make it happen to you. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
yeah,
Ready?
something about hot water in a child's life. Okay.
You guys want to run your own show here?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just get it set up for you. Go. Uh-huh.
Just for the sake of the documentation, tell us who you are, blah, blah, blah.
Well, my name is Mark Van Zandt. I work for the Fairfax County Department of Transportation. This is Max Sajatsadeh. He's the project manager for the project we're going to talk to you about tonight. I'm sorry to say that our project is much more mundane than everything we've seen tonight.
Just a sidewalk, yeah.
Different colors of sidewalk and different numbers.
Right. So,
Oh, wrong way, just go the other way.
okay.
There you go.
All right, so we're here tonight and we are going to ask you for approval for our project so we can move on to our land acquisition phase. We did come to you guys back in May of 2018 and you had a couple comments for us at the time. You wanted to see, the next time when you came back, you wanted to see our project compared to the existing trail network in the vicinity of where we're working. You also wanted us to remove the grass buffer that we were showing between the sidewalk and the road. I'm gonna just walk you through a quick summary of our project and then Max is gonna tell you how we address your comments. So, again, this project proposes to install about 3,600 feet of concrete sidewalk. We're in 3 separate areas. We're trying to fill in gaps in the existing network that's adjacent to the roadway. You can see in the picture there's a pretty well-worn goat path within the limits of our project. In addition to the sidewalk, we're going to do a crosswalk and pedestrian signals at the intersection with Twin Branches Road. We'll upgrade all the curb ramps, bus stop facilities within the project limits, and we're also proposing a bus shelter near Greenwatch Way that was requested by the community. So this first slide is the westernmost segment of our project. It starts at Greenkeeper's Court and it runs all the way to Soapstone Drive. Our project is depicted by the yellow shaded area on there. All the other colored lines on this drawing are the existing sidewalks or trails in the vicinity of our project. So I think what you were driving at the last time we were here is could you get from point A to point B with the existing network that's there? And the bottom line is yes, you could. You just have to be willing to meander through the communities. So our facility is just gonna provide a more direct route between Greenskeepers and Soapstone right along the road.
It's on the north side of the road.
It is, yes. Our second segment is just east of the high school. We're gonna connect to the existing sidewalk that just abruptly ends there today. And we're gonna continue that all the way past Ridge Heights Road, and we'll tie in with the trail that goes around the lake, goes by the lake. Again, the colored lines, and they're different colors because they're different maintenance responsibilities, different materials. But again, in this slide, it does show you that you could get from point A to point B with the existing network. It just, again, you gotta go through the neighborhood and it's not a straight shot.
So by the lake, you'll drop down to the path that's by the lake?
Yeah, we'll go just beyond where the tunnel is under the road, and we'll connect where the grades allow us to tie in. Yeah,
All right.
it'll all be ADA through there. And our final segment, third segment, this is up by Twin Branches Road. We're gonna fill in a gap in the network between the intersection and the concrete sidewalk that's on the south side of Twin Branches. And then that's where we're gonna be putting in the pedestrian signals and a crosswalk, just to make getting across that intersection a little easier to reach the new sidewalk that's going in there. So that's the three segments of the project that we have here. And Max is gonna just explain how we addressed your comment from last time.
Sure. As Clark said, is we present this project last year, and this is the typical section we proposing at that time, which is showing is existing payment and the existing curb and gutter, and we providing 2 feet utility strip, grass utility strip, and 6 feet sidewalk, and behind that, we're providing the curb, which is preventing to less degrade in that the grass area and the tree area. And the board comment to ask us to look at that one, if we can less impact to the tree and the grading area. Next one is, you go ahead. To do this one, we need to go get some approval from VDOT. VDOT, we need to, we're proposing this design, which is that we're removing that 2 feet utility strip from the design, and rest of them will be the sample as is. But we went to the VDOT and we have coordinated with VDOT. VDOT approved this design with the except of we need to provide them with the waiver. Next one, please. And this is actually, at that time, VDOT, we find out VDOT have a project to doing bike lane on this road. And actually, this bike lane is help the VDOT and the pedestrian to have some limit between the traveling car traveling and the sidewalk. Now we are with the curb button. This is the picture of that one, and we are going to provide the waiver to VDOT for the sidewalk. Next one, please. Last time we came here, we're showing is probably total is 109 trees that have to be removed at that time. After we reviewing and changing the project, actually that 33, there should be 35 trees, they should be removed. And this tree, removing this all tree, determined by county arbors. We walked through the with county arbors through the project, and they are recommended which tree. Some of them, this tree is not really, you know, a little bit far away from the sidewalk because of the deterioration and bad shape of the tree, they have to be removed according to the arbors. And also arbors recommended to protecting all trees from the beginning and end of the project, and also roof pruning, which we're going to do with individual tree, they have to be pruned. Another arbors recommended to have special arbors during construction, before the construction and during construction enter time. Our schedule for this project is after we get approval tonight, we proceeding with the land acquisition. on this year. And hopefully we finish the land acquisition in spring in 2020. And utility that we have to relocate some of the utility there, we have to relocate that. And utility relocation should be finished by winter 2020. And construction should be started on spring 2001. Is there any question?
Let's start up here. Charlie, any questions?
I was curious, can we go back to the Twin Branch intersection?
Who said, are there any affected parties for this?
No,
No,
and neither
okay.
one of the county projects.
Okay.
Where exactly is the crosswalk? On the north side to meet the crosswalk into the shopping center, I assume?
Yeah, there's an existing crosswalk here today. We're gonna add one here.
Going across Twin
North
Branch?
south.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was the last time we came to talk to you, we told you that there was gonna be a VDOT signal rebuild project where they were gonna rebuild the whole intersection. They ran out of funding, they're
Not in
not
our
gonna do that
lifetime, right?
anymore. So it's just gonna be our project that's installing that one way.
So those will just be striped crosswalks? Do they have, push walk lights?
Yes.
Buttons?
They'll be the latest standard.
Whatever
There's-
it is.
Yeah.
Okay, just curious. The, not part of this project, but is the path where it comes up from the dam and goes over the rise into the shopping center parking, is that ADA? Or was that not evaluated? It seems very steep when you come up from the dam, right next to those townhouses before you come to the driveway going into the shopping center.
I'm not familiar with the specific location, but I can tell you that the county is looking at the entire South Lakes Drive corridor.
So they probably evaluated it.
Yeah, because this project was supposed to extend all the way up to Sunrise Valley Drive, but we just didn't have the money yet for that type of project right now. We're only tackling those other 3 segments right at the moment.
Okay.
You might want to take a little look at that, because one day last week I was leaving the shopping center and it comes up from down by the lake and it goes up and then it comes down and curves right before it goes in. And an elderly woman, I believe, had come down that little slope on her electric chair, whatever, lost control and just went over into the street. So I think that's, as Charlie points out, it's kind of a dangerous area. I hope she's all right, but there were 100 people clustered around already, but it didn't seem to work for ADA.
Right.
I mean, I can see if you're going back down by the lake and then it comes up again and then it kind of curves like that to go in, and she just lost it right there, went right out into the street.
This is the area you're talking about behind the shopping center, the first entrance.
On top of the
to
dam,
shopping
right,
center.
right at the dam between the 2
Yeah,
lakes.
after the dam.
Yeah, in other words, when you come down and you're along the edge of the lake, and then it goes up, and then it takes a curve down right at the, as you go to the entry to the shopping center, that side entry. And it looked a little dangerous. I don't know if there's anything you want to do about that, but you might just think about that. Sure. It looked dangerous. Okay, Mike, any questions?
No.
Okay, Neil?
Nope.
Ken?
Nope.
Nick?
I have a question for Larry, if he's willing to answer it. Is there any future concern by Reston Association for having a utility strip? So if Verizon comes up with the next new FiOS, they've got to do all this digging, does that push that digging into areas that might be grown with trees now, since we've eliminated the 2-foot utility strip where that directional drilling happens?
Certainly our property is pretty limited. We've got the section on South Lakes right before Rich Heights and then the dam part.
Mhm.
On the dam, it's a very short stretch before they tie into the existing asphalt house we're just talking about.
Okay.
I'm not concerned about that.
Okay.
And the only other comment I want to make on this is that I appreciate the county adding that stretch on Queen Branches. It's about 90 or 100 feet or whatever of incomplete, so when Beacon Hill was built, Reston land built to the edge of the property line, it didn't take it all the way down to Queen Branches. We met with Mark and, Bill and others 2 or 3 years ago, and so it got incorporated in the project and we had that complete intersection. So I appreciate them adding that.
Okay. Any other comments? I'll make a motion that we approve this as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Different group.
Different team for
Okay.
this one?
Different
So
teams.
these guys would get to tell us about this.
Yeah.
Okay, North Shore Drive, the other side of Reston.
Good evening. My name is Syed Nabavi. I work for Fairfax County Department of Transportation and Transportation Design Division.
I'm Jim Bale with Fairfax County DOT. Sayed's gonna make a presentation tonight.
Good to see you.
So our project is a 5-foot sidewalk on North Shore Drive, on the south side of North Shore Drive, from Sycamore Valley Drive all the way past or east of intersection of Lynx Drive and North Shore Court. So if you see, basically the red line shows the location of that sidewalk. It's about approximately 2,500 linear feet. We actually came out about a year and a half ago. We presented the preliminary plans that we had, and since then we have more complete design. At this time, we are in the process of land acquisition, and we have worked with almost all homeowners associations that are in the area. When we started the project, there was a concern about 7 trees that are fairly large trees towards the east of the project near North Shore Court. And we knew once we get there, we would have problems basically. So we talked to the community was very concerned about those trees, and what we did is we decided to, in coordination with VDOT, we decided to take away the parking lane and push the sidewalk all the way out. In which we told the community that they are going to lose their parking lanes for that stretch of the road. So they were willing to give up the parking lane and protect the trees. So that's, we did that.
Was that the IPO cluster or which?
Which page was that on?
Right there. On these, I would say the last page, so I think it's page, sheet 7.
There's the end.
Okay, that's 7 right there.
So this is 7. So if you can see how this comes back in here. Actually, if you go to page 6, if you don't mind. So this is where the golf course is. This area is where the golf course is. And basically we start pushing out the sidewalk, and it's about 8 feet. And then we have actually curb abutted sidewalk in this area. So it's a 6-foot sidewalk, curb abutted, and we push it out 8 feet. So the transition starts basically at the crossing of the golf course, and it goes all the way past, if you go to the next sheet, the North Shore Court. This is North Shore Court and Lynx Drive. And then once we pass all these trees, which are located here, and there are a couple here, once we pass them, then we come back and we tie into the existing, there's an existing sidewalk right about, probably about 200, 300 feet from North Shore Court. That's where we tie in. As for the rest of the project, we have been, as I said, we have been working with other homeowners association, and we have been dealing with their landscaping issues or sign issues that they may have, or they may want us to relocate their sign or reimburse them for landscaping. So we have been working with those, and out of the 12 properties, we have acquired about 8 properties already. 4 properties are remaining, and we are working with them. The rest of the project, The typical section is basically a 2-foot buffer strip, and then you got the 5-foot sidewalk. And for the most part, it is along a parking lane. And I believe it was last year where they resurfaced and restriped this road. They added a bike lane on the north side, and then they striped the parking lane on the south side. So now it's more designated. So it doesn't affect our project per se, it doesn't take the bike lane out, it just takes, for the piece that we are going out into the road, we are taking the parking lane. And so we wanted to come in for the approval, and we are ready, once we complete the land acquisition process and relocate utilities, we are ready to go ahead and instruct this.
Any other comments?
I should say that within the process, within this whole 2 years, we have been working with the urban forester, county urban forester. We have had several site visits. We have went over every tree that we have, they suggested that we save, or they suggested that we take out. So there are some dead trees out there that they wanted to take out, and then there are trees that are not the species of the area, basically. So they wanted to take out those as well. But overall, we have gone based on their recommendation how to protect these trees, and the ones that we are taking out, there is no way of saving the trees per se.
Okay. Okay. There's an affected party, Ivy Oaks Cluster. Is anyone from Ivy Oaks Cluster here? They seem to be concerned more about the pedestrian traffic that would be along the sidewalk. That's what their letter said.
That's how it works.
That's how that works. With the sidewalks, people walk on it. I understand that.
What a concept.
Yeah.
Well, this is a missing link on the south side, and there is a entrance to the metro towards the middle of North Shore Port. And there is a lot of people that use, I mean, there is a GOAT path right now, so people do use it.
Oh.
And what we are actually doing with the project as well, every bus stop along the project, we are improving the bus stop with bus paths, and so there's more room for people to stand, and it's not.
You're gonna do a bus shelter?
No, we don't have bus shelters, but it's bus path. So it's a better improvement in terms of standing in grass, concrete.
Right. So as the question, as you pass Ivy Oaks, is that where it pushes out into the street? Or is it all where the curb is now?
The other side of the port golf course.
It's just this area all along here.
I don't know if
This
that
area.
remember.
They're pushing up.
Down here, that's why I'm asking that you're not pushing out up here.
Which one is that? Is this Ivy Oaks?
You guys, yes.
No, this is sheet 3.
You're right in the middle, it says Ivy Oaks.
Yeah, this is. No, this is not where it starts to go out.
Okay.
We are towards.
So that's
the
all
end of the
inside
back.
the existing curb lane? Okay.
Yeah.
Curb,
Yeah.
rather.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, once we put sidewalk, people will walk.
Okay.
I think that's the main purpose of putting sidewalk.
By its very nature. Okay. Let's see, we got any questions up here, Mike?
Just one question. On sheet 5, and this could just be a typo, or maybe this is what the road is technically designed for, but it says speed limit 40. There's no plan to raise the speed limit,
No,
correct?
there is no plan to, no, I think the posted speed limit on this road is 30 miles per hour. And so, that probably is a typo.
Okay.
I will have to check it, but no, there is no plan.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't gonna be. Okay. And people already drive fast enough on the road, so.
Well, I think that's why the bike lanes came up, and I think the sidewalk, even the coming out of the, taking the parking lane, that will help a little bit to reduce some of the speed, I would say.
Okay. Ken?
No question.
Nick?
No questions.
Neil?
Did you provide a list of trees to be taken out? I know you're saving those few, but do we have the list of trees that you're actually removing?
I think the plans that we sent to you, it shows which trees are coming out. I had sent, well, these are the plans, but I also had sent I guess there were displays, that.
Margot, do we have that?
If you could just, maybe he could submit that to staff, so I can have it.
We don't have
Basically,
it.
what we
No,
have
I
is,
don't have
we
it.
have marked the trees with X. So,
This location, there's so many of them, I can't even tell the number in
yes,
this, in this
so
area.
again, there are different types.
I think what staff is suggesting is you can give us a list of the trees that are coming out.
Sure.
We'll have to have that. Okay, anything else? Neil?
Well, what are you're looking for what tonight?
Well, we were looking for an approval, so we can.
But we don't have a list of trees. I mean, trees are a big deal in Reston. We need
Yeah.
lists of trees before we make approvals typically.
I mean, I
They
can
give
provide
it
the
to
list of
staff.
trees, but I can assure you, there's no way that we can save those bunch of trees.
So what are the largest trees that are actually coming out? What are we losing?
I would have to look to tell you what's the largest that's coming out.
I just think it's irregular for us to approve something that we don't have a list of trees. We had it for the other project, we don't have it for your project.
As I said, I can provide that to you.
Okay, yeah, because the last sidewalk, just before you, they had a list of 105 trees were coming out. They narrowed it down to 30, whatever it was. And I think we need the same thing here. I mean, we could move ahead with an approval if we asked to have a list, specific list of what's coming out that could then be circulated to us.
How many, you know how many?
Yes, there are about 27 trees total.
I don't think it's a number. I think it's the significance of what's coming out.
In what the
27
arborist says.
Because the drawing makes some of them just look like, there's no way there's that many trees next to each other, so it might just be, you might have marked bushes that have
Yeah.
X's, you know, I don't know if
Well,
they're actually trees.
It's a mixture of the two.
Yeah.
So as I said, I can provide you the list. If you're unhappy about the list, we can talk, we can, even after approval.
Yeah, I think as a
know
stipulation,
probably-
if we approve it, the stipulation could be to provide a list of trees and sizes of what's being removed.
Yeah.
Charlie?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, no other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept it with the stipulation that the tree removal is provided to staff. And, I guess that's all we need
For circulation.
for circulation to the,
So it's a stipulated approval pending review of that list.
okay, I like it.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that with the stipulation.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? You're clear on what we're asking?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's your buddies? Sunrise Valley Charity. Guys might want to snatch a couple of more chairs there and bring them up to the front.
There's, should be a couple over there if we need more. Oh, thank you, yeah, thanks. We don't need all that one.
Whoever plans on speaking, get close to a
I
microphone.
have a very simple list right now.
Let me guess who's gonna talk first.
Let's see.
Let us know who you are and then the floor is yours.
We'll do introductions again, just to reintroduce ourselves. As you know, Brian Winterhalter.
Daniel Russell with Hill, I represent the owner.
Caitlin Econom with 3877 here. Liz Kabach with 3877. So we're here with a little bit of a refresh, and also wanted to give you guys a little bit bigger picture of what we are thinking of. Okay. So, yeah, so we wanted to kind of step back instead of jumping right into the design. I wanted to give you a little bit of history, a little bit more understanding of the entire renovation of the Reston project. So the building was built in 1973. It's this beautiful concrete glueless building, these really nice concrete protrusions around the outside, buttresses, and it was probably the last time it was touched, designed, and so after all these years,
Portzak has acquired the hotel last year and are planning to make significant alterations to exterior, interior, guest rooms, landscaping, you name it. But yeah, it's been a popular destination for lots of meetings and conferences, and as well as the local neighborhoods for meeting space and just the core areas. These are three of the main views that we'll be seeing throughout the presentation. We've seen these before. Main aerial view, the main approach from Sunrise Valley at the top, view number one. As you come around the porte cochere, this is the main entry, is view number two. And then we have a secondary entrance, which we're hoping to add some interest to and make it more of a focal point for the meeting area, since this hotel is a massive meeting destination conference. So just some simple diagrams for you. We had talked last time and also today about the building exterior, just some basic improvements with redoing some of the EFIS work, replacing some of the roofing, pretty simple things. But in the grand scale of the entire renovation, the next phase is going to be a complete guest room overhaul. We're redoing all of the bathrooms and modernizing everything since its first conception. And then the third phase, which will have a huge effect on all of the meeting rooms and the draw, is all the public space. We're redoing the restaurant, the lobbies, you name it. So it's a pretty extensive. So we didn't want to sell it short last time. So anyways. So yeah, a couple photos of the building exterior. Not sure the last time when this was touched, but could have been 1973. We have some leaky roofs, so this is the focus of the presentation today, is the updating of the exterior finishes and making sure that we can maintain the waterproof and watertight enclosure for the building. Yeah. Exterior concept. So, we took a little bit of a step back since our last meeting. What we'd like to do for this exterior design is to focus on these existing historic fins that surround the building on both the tower and the horseshoe shape. We would like to bring in these natural wood elements that are so important to Reston and the community. Focus on that natural look, as well as bring in, there's actually some existing concrete formwork on the site, and we think some of that detailing can come in through the EFIS reveals that we're showing on the elevations. So, the approach concept. So main approach, what we've done is to simplify the exterior in terms of colorways, make it more neutral and focus more on the sort of natural environment instead of trying to add little pops of color to accentuate, but rather let the building stand for itself. And so we're gonna simplify it to two neutral colors, sort of warmer grays. We've got the darker panel on the far end with the signage, and you'll notice the EFIS joints kind of mimic that Sheridan Hotel logo in kind of subtle way that creates this mark around the edge of the building. And then we will bring the darker color throughout the guest room balconies, balconies, but the main guest room faces of the building will be that darker color, and with the lighter gray emphasizing the concrete fins of the building. So that's basically what we're here to show you today. The porte cochere, we will be adding the wood wraps around the columns at the porte cochere, as you can see. And we've been conceptually playing with these fins and wanted to show you that continuation of the concept that we'll be presenting in the third phase. So as a whole package, we didn't omit it. It's definitely a part of the design. But we're using it to show the entries. And this is the view from the other side. You'll see we carry around the same language on this facade as well. The main darker color accentuated by the lighter fins, and then really using those wood fins and the wood cladding to demarcate the entry and make it clear. And also warm and inviting, so. Same with this third, there's a lot of things that we can do for this meeting room that you'll see in the presentation. And this is bringing that wood cladding back to demarcate this other entrance, but carrying that neutral language throughout, the darker color kind of surrounding the building with the lighter fins, just really selling that natural architecture of the building. A little more technical view of all the elevations, but we wanted to kind of draw attention to what we've updated since you've seen it, as well as what we're adding. Is that correct?
Yeah, the darker bullet points are ones that are updated from the last presentation.
So we're clarifying the signage that's being proposed, and we're clarifying the locations of the colorways of the EVAs and the DAFs for the exterior. As well as calling attention to some of those things we're going to clarify the conceptual versus final approval on certain elements, but the final approval is for the things we've updated since last time, which is the colors and the wood cladding. Same here, you can see the neutral colors throughout with the conceptual ideas for the porco share fins. But yeah, we'd be looking for final approval on the columns and colors. So we think it really, by bringing it to a more neutral tone, we think that it makes the building actually stand out a little bit stronger than last time. By having a light band at the bottom throughout the building, it makes the building not seem so heavy, and you can focus on the verticality of the fins, which just seemed really nice once we worked with mock-ups. So, yeah. It just seems to have a bigger presence than what it is currently, which is just all monotones in color. And here's that meeting view, so you can see how we'll compare both entries. We'll bring that wood tone throughout both areas with the fins and similar detail to what we saw at the last presentation with how we would be wrapping the columns with a kind of a rain screen type system with this wood cladding, allowing the rain to drain through. Here are our specifications. I believe you've received the samples. I see them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're coming around.
Yep, perfect. So it's the same roofing and the same wood tone, but we have just updated the colors. And we've also included some of the landscaping components to sort of that would complement these exterior renovations. And then Daniel, walk you through these.
So, excuse me, as part of wanting to show you all the sort of grand scope of the project, we included the landscaping conceptual as well, so you can see what we're looking at for that. These are some inspiration images showing the mixing of materials between the metals and the concretes and the woods to go with the greenery. There's 3 areas that we're focused on, 2 of them being exterior, the other being the interior courtyard. Up porte cochere, we're looking at really cleaning up the overgrowth that's established in front of that main facade, keeping the large river birch that are along the road there, since they have such a presence and they're so large. And then bringing in some new lower level shrubbery, ground cover, some new signage, and then enhancing the entrance with new paving, new sidewalks, paver bricks under the porte cochere, and so on. And then we mimic that down at the secondary wing entrance with the pavers, some sort of FF&E style planters, new sidewalks, and we're also looking at this added drop-off, because we've noticed that cars kind of drive around that curve a little bit faster than they should, and since that tends to be the main entrance for meetings, cars park there to unload, and then it becomes a traffic issue, so we thought the drop-off would make some sense to keep pedestrians and parked cars off that road. This plan here, it's a little hard to see at this scale, but this shows the existing, proposed new, and proposed removal of the trees on site. We had our arborist come out and do a tree survey, and then based on plans and based on tree health, that's where we ended up. Overall, it's a net reduction of 13 trees. And based on your comments from the last presentation, when we come back for final, we can definitely provide a list of exactly what species they are, the caliper, and so on, because we have that from the arborist. It's not an issue. These are the proposed materials, just inspiration images for what we're going to be working with on the site. It's a mixture of different stones and concretes, trying to break it all up because we have a lot of hardscape and we don't want it to seem just kind of monotone and bland. This is the concept for the sign that we were looking at out towards the front. It would be a concrete wall with a corten steel cut sign that would be halo lit. So this is just the beginning ideas of how that would develop with the planting behind it. This is the entrance on the porte cochere with the sort of concept of how the new pavers and the new tiles would all sort of integrate. We basically created a continuous detectable warning paver along the entrance as opposed to the undulated one that we have currently. Another view of that showing the sort of FF&E style planters we're looking to bring in. And another view of that sort of looking out from the building into the porte cochere. And this is the secondary, the wing entrance, where we carry that language through with more of the corten steel, the wood, the pavers, all speaking the same language, just a little bit more toned down. And so, I mean, you can speak to this if you want, but I'll just clarify. So as you've seen the whole project, now this kind of is just a summary for you to understand what we're showing you today as a conceptual idea and what we're looking for final. So these are the conceptual points, which would be the signage and its locations, the porte cochere entry canopy, the wood that we were just looking at, the paving, the tree removal, the secondary entrance with the signage and the canopy, and then the concept of the wing entrance with the planters and the pavers there. And then what we're looking for on final approval today would be the control joints, as well as the coloration for the eaves and the dafts. And that's it, right? Did I miss anything? Oh, and sorry, the columns at the porte cochere wrapped in that wood material, which right now we're looking at as separate from the canopy, since that's still a developing design. I think that's it. Okay, questions?
Where's the bright white landscape rock used?
The one there in the middle?
Yeah.
So in the courtyard, let me see if they show it in this one. They don't.
It's, yeah, if you go to the right, it's number
Sorry.
E, letter E.
Testing our vision.
See,
Yeah,
no,
just
no, no,
up, top left, yeah,
410 planners are gonna be.
yeah.
It's used there and then it's used within the courtyard.
Does it totally fall apart if it's not the bright white?
As opposed to, yeah,
Something
the idea is
more
the
neutral.
different, well, the idea is the material more than the color. It's so that we don't have another hard paved surface, so we could go to a different color of a gravel or rock. That is not a huge deal, it's more the material itself
you
that we're
suggested
looking
that.
at.
Yeah, something more like a river
If you can
run.
get them talking about the rocks, you're really home free.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about like a darker river rock.
A couple of clarification things, the Corten steel you have on this one is more what I think Corten steel looks like, but then the one that has the Sheraton sign on it appears to be bright
Yeah, it's a
orange.
little, I think it's more just the computer
Just to
renderings.
clarify what
A
color.
little
it might
really
be.
oxidized.
Like,
Yeah.
Really not gonna look like
No,
that.
it's more,
It'll look
it's
more like
this,
this.
yes.
And then the only other question I had preliminarily was on the, I like the idea of the wood overhang thing you had at the porte cochere. We got stumped one time on one of your parking lots where they did those wood ribs along the outside of the parking lot. And I think the spacing of those things is critical. And I noticed you have two different spacings, one on the left side, they're farther apart, and on the right side, they're closer together. Our experience with fins like that is the farther apart they are, the worse they look. And I think we ought to take a look at that if, for example, if they were all the same spacing, I think it would look a lot better, because all of a sudden, I don't know what it is, it looks like on one side they're 6 inches apart, and on the other side, it looks like they're 1.5 feet apart. And I just think that will be distracting, and it would be a stronger design / pattern if they were all either the same, or they started off even closer together and got even more closer together. Just a comment there. And I think because that's gonna become a major design feature, and I like the feature itself. Generally, I like the coloring you have. I think it accents the building more, responds more to the building than some of the colors y'all had last time. I think this, is a gentler approach and takes advantage of the fact that it's an attractive building, and you're emphasizing the pieces that need to be emphasized in an architectural way as opposed to more of a, I don't know, we'll leave that alone. But those are just a couple of quick comments I had, so let's see what other comments we might have up here. Okay, we lost Charlie, so we'll start over here, Mike.
Yeah, the only couple questions I had was the HVAC grills, are those gonna be painted during this project as well?
Painted
To match
to
that
match.
same gray, I'm assuming. And then I was out there today, and there's no plan with anything with the windows or anything. Are you guys gonna reface those windows at all, try to re-anodize them or something, or what's the plan long term?
In the vein of what I mentioned last time, that the project keeps evolving, that is something that we're looking at right now.
It'd be a shame to do this really nice all new eaves, everything in those windows still, I mean, they
Exactly.
show age.
Yeah, no, and right now, that's where we're headed, but we're not at a point where we have something to show you, so that's why it's not part of this, but yes, you'll be seeing that probably next month.
That's all.
Okay, Ken?
I see you're looking for final approval, and I think our colleague here brought up a good point, and you even sort of mentioned it again, we're looking at that. So is this where, we've gone from one iteration to a different one, now back to something that I think is very appealing. But are you sensing anything else changing between now and what we ought to, if we're approving this tonight, I guess as Neil has brought it up in the past, how close is close on this one?
Well, all we're looking for in the final is the colorways for the DAFs and the eaves, and the control joints, and then the wood wrap columns at the porte cochere. The rest of it's
But you basically,
conceptual.
you have
and
the
will
each guy, the
evolve.
roof guy is ready to go.
Yeah, they're bringing scaffolding Monday.
Right, okay.
Yes.
That's what there's no changes that's gonna come from that. So if you
Right.
approve it, it's gonna be.
Right, the other parts that will evolve will be the landscaping, the fins, like you mentioned, the spacing, things like that. Those will evolve, we'll come back for final, but yeah, we're not looking at any
So
drastic
we're not
changes.
approving the fins. We're just
Correct,
approving
that's just a
columns getting
conceptual
wrapped
so that
in the
we
wood
know we're
looking
headed in the
stuff.
right direction.
The wood-looking stuff.
Yeah, the metal that looks like
Oh,
wood.
wood, yeah.
All right, just to be clear, and follow up on what Ken's saying. The wood wrap columns, the general colors, the
square
joints, the suggested joints, and
The roof.
The roof repair.
Roof repair is in kind, so I guess then you can include that for final,
okay,
yes.
so the overall color, the wood columns at the entry, and the scoring, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Okay. The thing that I'm liking is your little thing at the entry, but that's not part of this approval. The-
Right,
Not for fun.
not for final, right.
You want to stick it in there? Okay, you don't, all right, fine, okay, just so we're all clear on what we're talking about.
Yeah, the final prime, I think is what
Yeah,
they're
I mean,
asking
it's
for.
pretty clear on this last page,
Yeah.
we don't have it in thing, but
Yeah.
it's pretty clear here.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Nate?
I don't have any comments on the things that we're up for final approval tonight. Just a comment, maybe, for the conceptual landscape architecture items, maybe encourage the landscape architect to take more cues from the Reston Tower building that was just done, and there are elements out there. I think it might tie some of the design together. It looks like some of these items do, but maybe it could kind of become a more cohesive whole overall development. Just a thought, not anything more than that.
Okay. Neil?
So if my colleagues on the board could indulge me, I really think this is very close. Is there a way you can enlarge what's up there on the screen? I want to go to the east elevation.
We can probably go
Oh,
back a
yeah, we can
page.
go.
I have to get out of this.
There's another page that has
Hang on a
it.
second, I'll get it.
I'm zeroing in on the dreaded control joints again. I just don't think you guys have resolved that. And I hope that we up here don't just approve that because it's a very significant visual element on this otherwise, kind of plain building. So if you notice at the top, it doesn't really resolve. I mean, there's this kind of leftover little piece. The spacing gets tighter. And I guess I've got one basic question, which isn't really a design review question, but is this building ever going to be forever going to be branded as Sheraton? Because, I mean, you've made the point that this chevron design sort of picks up on the Sheraton logo stuff. And I know that some properties are being rebranded to Marriott or something else. So, first of all, I don't think it resolves in general. I don't think the angle of the roof works with the angle of the chevron. And as I said last time, I don't particularly enjoy the chevrons. I think they're a little gimmicky, a little just trying too hard. Having said that, if we could now scroll down and look at the south elevation, and over to where we see, I guess I'm not on the south elevation, go one more. I think the simplicity of the scoring on that vertical element there to the right is more successful. You don't have these weird little slivers left over at the top. So I just think you can be better, and I don't think we should approve it the way it is. I like the colors. You've done a great job responding to everything. I've got some heartburn over the metal wood that at the porte cochere that goes right up to the ceiling. I mean, these really aren't exactly columns. They're continuations of the shear walls that go all the way through the building, and then they become columns as they come out the bottom at the porte cochere. And so you're running the wood finished metal, the rain skin, tight to the ceiling and kind of turning it into a column. But that's it's a very artificial moment. So again, you're trying to dress up something that doesn't want to be dressed up quite the way that you're dressing it up, but you're doing it anyway, and maybe it's okay, maybe we just kind of don't notice that that's a continual fin that all of a sudden the cladding just stops when it gets to the ceiling. One thought I had was maybe if the cladding didn't go tight to the ceiling, if it held down a bit, if it held down a foot, maybe if it held down even more. I find myself continually going back to the original approved stuff, and you didn't do this that way back then. So I'm talking about the way the brown goes up tight underneath the ceiling, but then the fin continues on up and around. It's the same thing we talked about with the green paint last time. It's a continual architectural element that you're trying to dress up just at the ground level. A related comment, whenever I go to this building, I always go into the doors to the right there, not under the cover, because I'm always parked in the surface lot. And so I just want to say, even though you don't even really show a door there, and maybe you're going to get rid of the doors there, but I always go into the doors immediately to the right of where you're showing that Sheraton sign, not undercover. And it's just a comment that I think you might have considered how your language might apply to that entrance, because I think it's a pretty important entrance too. It's a confusing building a little bit.
Well,
which door
that
to
entrance
use.
is being removed to kind of simplify it, because there are 4 entrances.
Even better,
to
just
go
get rid of that
nowhere.
entrance,
Yeah.
yeah. Good move.
Yeah, so the landscaping will help guide you to the other two main entrances that are under the portico sharing.
But, I appreciate the color palette, I'm fine with the color palette, I think that score pattern in the east elevation is not resolved, and I'd hate to drive by that thing as much as I drive by this building looking at that score pattern. I think on this side of the table, you can not have quite so much up there that's not resolving.
I think it just boils down to the spacing up on the,
Yeah,
as it gets closer to the logo, it gets really tight. It's kind of similar with what Richard was saying about the fence. The spacing is important, I think, up there.
As an architect, I see an idea here that, showed up early, and I think the idea may be okay, but it hasn't been refined. It hasn't been refined enough. It's still sort of conceptual to me. It's not fully resolved. And like Mike just said, maybe if it's not so tight, maybe if you give yourself a little more room up there, maybe if you don't try to get so fussy. I mean, I just think it's overly contrived up there.
I'm just worried about this guy trying to install it. The space, the one, I think, the west elevation to me is it's a consistent spacing, and it looks consistent and purposeful. And it could go with any brand, it doesn't matter if it's a Sheraton or not, but this one I think is just a little too tight at the top.
And I think one of the reasons the west elevation is better is because the spacing between the grooves is similar to the orthogonal spacing. So same comment here, the distance in the orthogonal control joint, if that sort of general, maybe it would, I mean, you're kind of in between right now. And I'm spending so much time on it because literally that's kind of the signboard, really you talk about the logo, but it's that entire end of the building there that greets you if you're heading west on Sunrise Valley. And so it's highly visible. And just to say, I was on the board the last time it had a makeover, so it has been touched since since it was built. It was white, basically, originally. And so it's already had one color change. I think it's really, really close. I can deal with the fake wood, I can deal with all that. Just if the control joints are a little better, I would be happy.
Yeah, we were pulling those joints directly from the logo. I wonder if you'd be open to.
You need to pull it from the architecture. I mean, the logo is not the thing to take it from, in my opinion.
Well, I think the idea is that, like you're saying, that is the signboard of when you're driving up. So-
Exactly, and it may not even be a Sheraton forever, who knows? Don't do the control joints in the ephes, which will be there forever, based on Sheraton's current logo.
Charlie?
No, I just had a question. It says future signage location. Obviously, you have to have signage. What's future about it?
The only thing that's future about it is that we need to come to you guys with a refined signage package for approval. And we also have to go to the county to amend our CSP. So, yeah, we're basically replacing it same size with the updated logo, but we're saying it's future because we know there's a process to go through the approval, and we're not looking at that right now.
You're not gonna leave it without one anyhow.
Correct, it will be replaced.
I was gonna say, I don't understand. All right. No, I'm good.
I mean, I would be fine with approving the application for the final approval, minus the east elevation, do the control joints, how you do them on the west, where you took that slant and you flipped it 180 degrees essentially, and then go down consistent, all the way down. To me, I think that would make it consistent from kind of medallion sign to medallion sign. And it just, I think it's more practical when it gets installed as well. I mean, I just worry about any of this guy trying to install those lines to some sort of dimension, and it's not just, I don't know.
I'm not as worried about the guy installing it. I think my concern is that,
Don't worry, I'm paying for it.
I kind of agree with what's going on. It overcomplicates that vertical piece we're beating the heck out of this thing, I know. But to me, it makes the top of that whole thing a much larger sign, because all your joints are expanding. It's like there's a sunburst pattern around the sign that will eventually show up. It's probably gonna be a big S again, I don't know, whatever it ends up being. So I mean, I could go along with what Mike just said, if you did the same. In other words, it should become a background piece that you then put your sign on. And right now, you're making all these lines add to the sign itself, which makes the sign the whole top of the thing. And I think it's, if you could just do the 180 flip on the thing and just do all the lines going one direction, and then the sign can just sit on it, that's fine. That's my comment on that. I could approve that as a final if that's where we ended up, so it looks the same as the other tower. And then you just put the sign on it, that's fine. The comments about the wood on the, in quotes, columns at the entry, because they are a continuation of the vertical pieces that come down. I think it's really important to have the little drop pieces in there that we're talking about with the spacing, because then it all starts to make sense. And if they were part of what you're asking now, I could definitely see a final approval on all of that happening if we change the spacing so it's all the same. But I think it's really imperative to have that dropped piece along with the columns going up. Because then just columns going up is gonna look kind of silly. It's like, why'd they do that? But when it's all there, it makes more sense to me. So those would be my comments. One would be if you can just do what Mike suggested and flip the thing so the angle just runs the other way, clean all the way up, and then put your sign up there, fine. So you don't get the sunburst thing happening behind the sign. And secondly is to add the little hoop-de-doo, but I don't know what you want to call that, your other.
That's another architectural term.
The other architectural element you've added into the entry, which I like, I think that's great, and then it all makes sense. The wood columns by themselves don't make any sense to me. So those would be my comments. So
Can you respond to that? Could you consider adding the rest of the fins there at the entrance?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to speak out of turn earlier and suggest nearing the west and east elevations, but it seems that's the consensus. I'm fine with that, and quite honestly, I do have scaffolding being delivered Monday, so we have a very real timeline that we're dealing with here, so.
Can you send a sketch tomorrow morning that we could approve by consensus?
Sure you guys can.
Or do we?
And the only reason we didn't include the canopy architectural element
I think
was
if you
just because it was the
my
first time
point,
we've
if you're
seen
just
it.
making it look like the other thing, but you're flipping the angle to go the other direction.
Right.
I don't want to be surprised by a misinterpretation of what we said.
I think that's pretty clear.
You would think.
But do us a sketch anyway.
Sure.
And what about the little hanging hoop that goes around the wood columns? Can we add that at this point?
I don't have a problem with it. The reason we didn't submit it for final was because it was the first time you were seeing it in this iteration, so we didn't want to jump the gun. If you're okay with that, with the modification like you mentioned with the even spacing, again, I think it might help everybody to send a sketch with the dimension so that we understand.
Yeah, if you could
exactly
just
what
like
that spacing
redo this sketch, so that all the little
I think the
whoop-de-doo.
design intent was it to be like a gradient.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
That is the, so I don't think it's like a consistent 6 inches and then 18. It
That's
becomes-
what
But it
looks
still
like to
might
me.
be that it's.
Personally, I like it in
too far
elevation, not just a hand sketch.
Yeah, but if it gets closer together, because if you drive by that parking lot, and look at the wood fins they put on there, there should be twice as many,
Oh,
easily, you know, and I don't want that to happen here, so, yeah, if you could do an elevation of that, and then change the angle on the thing, send us a sketch, I think.
It would work, it would.
Given that, I'll make a motion to approve the things we're talking about tonight.
I'll second it.
Narrowed it right down.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all understanding.
We're gonna hammer out the minutes and it'll be
Yeah,
Yes.
understood.
and
we'll
get us a sketch of the elevation and the end piece. So, and I think it makes sense that the angles don't have anything to do with the sign, that's what started to worry me about it. It looks like there's a sign and there's all this sunburst, you know. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Do you have a comment? You like the sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so we're clear, the entire DRB, all 8 members would need to approve this if it's done by electronic means.
No, we're approving it right now.
You're not approving the sign, you're,
That's not part of that's not on the agenda tonight.
as I'm understanding, a sketch is gonna be submitted to the DRB for electronic approval
Of the score pattern.
of the score pattern. That's gonna require all 8 members.
Why does it require all 8? It can't be the majority?
It has to be unanimous written consent.
It's in the bylaw.
Well, then let's-
What's the time frame on that? Does it have to be done within 24 hours, or do we have the entire week?
No, the guys have to be Friday.
Oh,
Yeah, he's got
there's their
scrapping.
timelines.
I mean.
But our
I think
approval's
it's
not
clear.
gonna be final until next Tuesday, regardless of when your scaffolding's being
No,
delivered.
understood.
So-
It was more
Right.
an
So-
You're gonna get approval, it's just a matter of, you know, you're gonna get it.
I mean, we could do this without the sketch and then it ends here.
We gotta have Bruce, who's not even here.
And Jason.
I don't get that.
Hmm?
I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, a
We're not
quorum's
even here
a
to
quorum's a
vote.
quorum. But he's saying electronically you have to have everybody, that's what he's saying.
They're not gonna be able to approve something I haven't seen, but anyway.
Which is why I brought it up.
No, but what he's saying is if they do the sketch, we have to get everybody to look at it, and everybody has to vote approve. Get us the sketch. We'll do it electronically. Okay? But basically, we're waiting for that, but you have an approval is what's on the table right now.
What about the conceptual approval for the other things? Is that needed tonight?
What other thing?
The landscape, so, I mean,
The remainder.
yeah, I mean, I think it's,
Landscape items.
I think it's fine, minus that, maybe that white stone. But
As long as the
other
white
than that-
stone changes to something more like river run or a natural.
Do you need to make a motion for that conceptual approval for the other items?
Let's get through the first one, then we'll get to that one almost
I thought you were done.
immediately. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so we got the motion, everything, we're expecting a sketch that we can then all vote on electronically, and that'll be that, right? Okay, all those in favor of motion number one here, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay. Now, I'll make a motion, we approve all the hardscape that was presented this evening, that's the other part you're asking, correct?
Right,
For
the
final?
conceptual on the landscaping,
Oh,
the sign.
conceptual, okay, conceptual, with the one stipulation that no white gravel, something more natural color. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
so as soon as we can get Jason and Bruce, hold them down, we can.
Should be. You're dialing it in.
I'll be up to you.
Thank you for all those changes. Appreciate it.
You'll have to sit on Jason and Bruce.
Okay,
I'm gonna send it out.
okay. But get us a sketch in the morning, then we'll, that's what we need from you.
You got it.
Or as soon as you get us a sketch, we'll circulate it.
Thank you.
Whether it's the
Thank you
morning
for
or
the
not,
extra
it's
work.
kind of late, you know. Okey-dokey-do. Last item of business.
We're gonna have a new design review board.
Is-
Oh, no.
Election of officers.
No, we tried that, we tried that once. We tried that once.
Oh, man.
We need to get a final approval of the change in the minutes. You've seen them a couple times now. Were there any questions or comments about that?
How much time is it saving you?
Actually, a little bit. You can see they're
That's the whole
probably,
point.
6 or 7 pages shorter than what you've been seeing. And we're not repeating every last little detail and
Yeah.
really referring them back to the actual drawing. So it is saving some time. Now, we'll see how much time that tonight saves me in the morning, and then I'll give you my final answer.
Yeah.
Actually, Lisa, what is your comments on how much time is it saving you?
I've talked to a lot of the advisors, it's saving them time, and it's also saving me a lot of time. Like, the more I do it, the faster I get.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes
I'll make
as
a,
they've been changed.
okay, I'll second that. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Done.
Good
Okay,
work.
Now we're gonna have officers
Track,
election.
like, how often people actually play for things.
All right,
You probably wanna get,
Like,
is that a
like,
subliminal?
so we want some data on that, how often are they clicking the
Yeah, it
link?
does.
to see the full-
Hey, you and I done something
That's
wrong?
changing rapidly.
Getting a little bit
Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
No, there's one more item. Look at
Oh,
your agenda.
where did that come from?
Number 7, man.
What? Oh, yeah, there is another item.
Under bold, other item.
I don't see it over there.
Discussion, real quick discussion item.
It's great. And actually positive. So after
Mine just says adjourn.
after our several positive discussions, our staff will be able to implement a cluster outreach specialist position
Awesome.
in October, which we're very excited about. I'm sure you guys probably knew that we used to have that position. So,
that happen?
We have a staff member currently that will transition into that position. She's been an advisor for a while. She used to work here, came back, so. Megan Mikatsi.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we're very
It's not
excited about that, huh?
Not Megan.
It's Megan.
Was
It's
this a
actually
new
Megan.
staff position added to the budget?
She got married. Got married, now it's a different name.
You guys were heard. You guys were
Was that a
actually heard.
unanimous decision? I'll have to check the minutes. I couldn't see who.
for it. I'm still getting used to Mrs. Detweiler, but that's.
So based on that, we would like to be able to implement the cluster standard panel meetings that we've discussed in the past, because one of the biggest goals that the staff member will have would be to help the clusters update their standards, which will get more applications on the table for cluster standard updates. So that will be one of her functions. We'll see more of those applications. So she will staff that meeting. It will not be in the afternoon. We will do that at evening meeting.
Okay, my next question was gonna be, could we replace the third panel meeting? That we're not doing anymore with that, but you just said no, so that's.
No, it will be a regular panel meeting. I mean, we've cut back on meetings,
No,
but we have to replace her with an advisor. So, and we cannot implement that position until October based on funding.
It was,
So-
we're not doing the last 7 or 6:30, I don't know why we did 7 tonight, that's another question. But
Because you asked.
Because
you asked.
we got
That's
voted
what
down
we-
on that,
that's
we're
what we were told.
starting at 6:30 all
Full
the
board
time.
was not to change the times, only the panels.
Yeah,
We're just following suit.
you asked us to keep it.
Thank you for that clarification.
These meetings are recorded, so, you know, your memory's going.
We don't get listened to all the time.
Yeah.
We do get listened.
Yeah, you've been listened to.
No, so my question was, the panel meeting we're not having now, it's a 6:30 meeting, could this cluster thing be that meeting, so it's just the 4th Tuesday night,
I think that's a great idea.
instead of doing it during the day? I'm just asking, if it's gotta be during the day, okay.
No, she already said it.
She already
Yeah.
said she's
Thinking,
going
what
to
Yeah,
do
it's an
it.
You just said it was
meeting.
gonna be during the day.
No, initially we talked about it, but I knew that didn't get consensus. We didn't get consensus on that, so we're leaving that as an evening meeting.
Okay.
I like your idea.
I mean, I mean, if it's a separate panel, are you asking if it's a separate panel? Because I personally would like to
That,
be on a cluster panel, because that was kind of the reason, one of the main reasons why I
that was
wanted
gonna
to join the
be
board.
part of, I don't think we need to necessarily make the decision tonight, but we are going to discuss, we're gonna need to discuss whether it's gotta,
Right.
you know, who gets on that panel.
It needs to rotate.
Yeah, that one has, but then, once we get fully staffed and so on, we go back to our regular 3
Correct.
panels and a
Yes.
full.
So you,
That will have
if
to
you
be
would want it to
shifted
be
to
the
some other
fourth,
time.
the fourth Tuesday of the month could be that panel.
Until such time as we can go back to our normal 3 panels and a full board and the cluster panel.
No,
No,
no.
Two panels, one full board, one cluster panel.
Yeah.
But we talked about before, we were gonna add a whole other panel.
If that was in
just
the
to do
af,
clusters.
but that's if it was in the afternoon.
And if you pull the clusters off the other panels that aren't gonna be as big.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's about 3 or 4, 5 cluster applications on each one, but
Yeah,
also we're doing
yeah.
like 12 or 13.
No, when we originally talked about it,
And they
it was
truly
gonna
are
be
the
an
ones that
afternoon
take the
meeting.
time.
That was a whole bunch of different, whoever volunteered to do it.
Right.
So we didn't change, we still had 3 panels and a full board, plus this cluster panel.
Correct.
So if we do the 4th Tuesday now as the cluster panel, once we get staffed enough, we can go back to our original 3 panels and a full board. Then the cluster panel could then become a daytime thing. Is that what we originally
Oh,
discussed?
well, I mean, if you want to do that,
Yeah, but we moved away from that because we didn't think we could get anything but the same 3 people.
Yeah.
It don't work for a
we
living.
got away from the daytime because you guys thought that would be
Yeah,
an
I
objection
just
to get
accepted
daytime.
the full-time position, so I won't be able to be on that one.
Yeah, I thought the plan was that the cluster one to rotate maybe.
I think it's a
people
viable
every-
idea, but I won't be able to be a part of
But
it.
if it's the 4th Tuesday and it's in the evenings, you could be.
I can do evenings,
But it sounds like it needs to rotate.
most of the time.
Well, if
Because it
we're,
wouldn't just always be, I forget the color panel I'm on, but I'm the 4th Tuesday right now, but it would rotate, it would be maybe the 1st Tuesday, 2nd Tuesday.
If there's a
third,
comfort
fourth.
level that the number, the people that would be possibly doing the afternoon would be a subset of the board, I'm fine with that. It's just, you know, I have a funny feeling some are volunteering for a lot of work. But I'm
You
fine
got-
with
But
that.
if we're taking all the cluster stuff off the other panel agendas.
We'll be able to put more of the others on there.
Yeah.
We're clustering the cluster.
Just one. Who's on your panel? What's your panel? Ken
Ken and Jason.
and Jason?
Jason Ken right now.
Well, here's the thought. What if we take all the cluster stuff and instead of us screwing around, everybody keeps their regular panels as designed? But the cluster meeting rotates.
Yes.
I think
Well,
that's what I
and
was suggesting.
also remember that when we initially had this discussion, we also said that the cluster could be consultation, meeting with two. Remember, we put that in the resolution. So there's a couple of ways that we could do it. You could do it with two members.
Well, that's fine, but I like your idea of bouncing it up.
Without overcomplicating this, forget everything we said before. If we do, just for now.
Yeah.
But if we said, I'll repeat what I just
Three
said.
panels and a full.
If we all have, if we're back to 3 panels and a full board, the cluster agenda goes from panel to panel. So 1 month, Mike's panel gets it. Next month, Neil's panel gets it, all clusters. And then the next panel, Nick's and my panel gets it. So with that jumps around, we're not jumping around.
Right.
But the cluster agenda jumps around.
Yeah, I think initially, no, I mean, initially I had looked at a schedule that rotated them. I think that, again, the consideration needs to be that because the cluster, standards take longer. I mean, they really do take a little bit more time than,
Depends on what the other applications are.
well, I don't know. I'll see you guys approve an addition, a very extensive addition pretty quickly. But when you have to get out the books and start matching colors and having conversations, it takes some time.
Yeah, but that
So-
way, every panel has to
Well, I
do
guess
it.
my only
We
concern,
need
what if,
to-
what if week 4 has the cluster, right? And then all of a sudden the first of the month has the next cluster meeting, now they're only a week and a half apart.
There's
They're
not gonna be
kind of-
enough
there may not be enough
applications to put
really-
them
So
on.
then it doesn't do it that month. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
okay.
a big deal.
Then you just, then you skip a month.
Well, I don't think we can do it that way. We
Yeah, you're
can't
putting
plan
an
that
extra
way.
load on the staff.
Yeah, we have to plan.
Panels meet like always, and you assign a cluster to a panel as it works out. I mean, I don't care whether I'm doing cluster or other stuff when I show up to my panel.
I know, but
So you're saying we don't need a dedicated cluster?
Is there really enough cluster?
I'm saying that they
One
have the.
every month.
I think
Oh
you're
my
missing
gosh, there's
staff.
way more than
Way
enough.
more than
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
So,
I think you're missing staff's point. If you're gonna do this and take it seriously, and we're rotating, which I thought was a neat idea, but it brings up a good point. Week 4 of the month, and then week 1 of the month. If they're not, and if there's more to do, they're working weekends to get that ready.
I don't
That's
have a
not
problem
fair.
with that.
I know you don't.
And the staff person we're bringing on is gonna be specialized in cluster
That
standards and be
person needs
working.
at least
But we're-
every 30 days
But
to
if-
get ready.
How are we doing, like, if right now,
but that's,
you got,
If you're
who's the
putting them all
first, who's the
together,
first panel? That you? That's you?
yeah.
Okay, the second panel is Nick. Third panel is Ken.
Yep.
So right now, we're only doing 2 panels a month. Are we rotating those, so all of a sudden Ken does first week? Because he's not doing fourth week, because we're not doing that now. Who does, how does he get into the rotation? If we're doing,
I'm just getting
Neil.
through the end of the year.
no, but I
This
was saying,
year.
if you're doing Neil, Nick, full board, blank, Ken's panel never gets in there, right? So so then the next month, does he do first week?
Yeah.
And then Neil does second week, which will drive him crazy.
I can't do that. I've gotta have my meetings set.
Okay, see, that's where the problem comes.
We can't be having a different Tuesday every month.
Well, how does Neil, Ken's panel get into the pattern now?
We haven't probably met since February.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think the original thought was that it would be a set panel, but if you feel strongly about rotating, then I think we would have to give it more thought in terms of how that could work out, in terms of both on your end and on
Yeah.
staff's end.
Well, originally, we said we'd all volunteer and do it in the daytime, and whoever could come in the daytime,
Right.
way back when.
Right.
So then the panels weren't hurt, then all of a sudden we lost a panel, or we lost 2 panels, and we put back on a training panel, and we lost a panel. So now, if we go back during the daytime, it's gonna be Mike, Charlie, and me most of the time, because everybody else works for them, and I work. I treat myself very
We
kindly.
could give it some more thought, and I need to get Megan involved in the thought process,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be the one doing it anyway.
Yeah,
so,
I would look at the
and
calendars. Again, if some folks here want to do the daytime approach, the issue, how many people from clusters have to show up? Are they capable of showing up in the daytime?
Well, Margot just said something about she wants to get through the end of the year.
Yeah.
So if we start in October,
Well, we can't start in October.
That's right, you
New
can
person doesn't start. till
Yeah,
when?
well, we probably are looking
November, December.
Possibly
somebody
December,
said
but
December.
definitely January.
Yeah, because by the time she actually outreaches, get an actual.
Get some people off dead
Yeah,
center.
and I have just to drink.
Well, let's-
For now, just keep the clusters on the normal
Yeah.
panel
Just time to
schedule like
figure
they
this
are.
out.
what if we do this? We're adding a panel meeting to do this, right? So if the first month, whatever, I thought you said October, if it's gonna be November, right?
December.
it'll
Okay,
probably be
December.
December for the
Because
first
the Thanksgiving,
possible
it's
meeting.
not gonna be a fourth.
If the first month, all the cluster stuff goes to panel A, the first panel, which would be your panel. The second month, all the cluster stuff goes to the second panel, which would be Nick's panel. The third month, all the cluster stuff goes to Ken's panel. That way they're all a month apart. And you have one cluster meeting a month, which is all we ever talked about.
So what if we did this? What if we took the
Now,
calendars?
hold on, answer what I just said first.
Well, I am answering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if we took, say, the January calendar and we did it that way and we just preset the dates for those meetings, like you said?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, the
A, B,
dates
C,
are all
D,
still the
whatever,
same.
and
He's
so
still
we could
first
preset
Tuesday.
the meetings based on that panel.
Yeah.
So we just, that way when she prepared, her applications, she could let the customers know, this is the date for that meeting. She would automatically know what the dates
Right.
would be.
Whereas all cluster stuff comes, on January comes to Neil's panel.
Right.
The February, they all come to Nick's panel.
Just move out.
March,
Yeah, I
they all
like
come to Ken's panel.
I think it started with the green panel and it worked out better when I did it month to month, month to
It's the
month.
green-
Yeah,
it's
I
the
think I
green.
can work a schedule like that pretty easily.
I think staff just you make the call, if the panel, if they're too close together, if they're
Yeah.
only 2 weeks apart, then just
We'll
change,
just
just change it up and then switch it back.
identify
But what I
dates.
just said, you're not doing that, they're a month apart.
No, but Richard, if you end on the 4th week of a month, and then the next week is the first week of the month, if you end in the 4th week of February and the first week of March, that's only like 5 days apart. That's what I'm saying.
That's why we can't be discussing this at 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll identify the dates, and then
Yeah.
at the next DRB meeting, we'll bring the schedule, and then we can finalize the
Perfect.
schedule. Okay?
Sounds good.
Keep in mind, we have 5 weeks in a lot of months too, and that
We
helps
don't
us.
do the fifth one.
Yeah.
We're not changing that.
No, but it gives us more space
Good
between,
news.
between
Right, thank you.
weeks. is
Yeah,
my
thank
point.
you. I'm excited about it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion, a second.
motion might not be allowed to do any close.
I'm updating my question.
I'm in favor of adjourning.
I believe that.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you all.